What's up, friends? How's everybody doing today? It's Tuesday. Again, here we are. Let me throw a note up to everybody that we are live, and then we'll get into this thing. It's probably not the most interesting way for me to start these. I should get better at this. What thing are we on? So what's everybody up to? What's your week been like? For once I've been consistent with these. We're back on. I think we're 3 weeks in a row that I've been live. That's nice. Not sad about that. Let's get one of these going. We're going to throw one up in the Discord. And now you have my undivided attention. Hello. Should we just do unbroken eye contact? Okay, anyways, what are we talking about today? What's going on, Patrick? What's going on, Aiden? How you doing? Yeah. So we are here. Things are happening. Let's talk about them a little bit. Okay, so we got a little bit of news. This is good. We just dropped a new episode of Web Dev Challenge. There is now episode 6 of season 2 is live. So let me drop this without the time link. And that's exciting. So that's that. Oh, that's a terrible link. Let me throw a better link up. codetv.link/ you see season 2 episode 6. That's what we wanted. What's up, Bridgewater? How you doing? And that's the link there. codetv.link/ WDC will take you to the whole series, and S2E6 will take you to season 2 episode 6. What's up, Emmett? How you doing? So yeah, so that's a cool thing. Here's another cool thing. We hit 100K on YouTube. So that's pretty dang exciting. That's the wrong. What am I doing? That's definitely the wrong thing. Let's switch to the right window. This one. No, entire screen. Jeez, that's what I was trying to do. Christ. All right, here we go. This is the one I was trying to share. That's the way that I would want to share that. So yeah, we can go back out, look at the Code TV channel, and you can see now we hit 100K. So that's a milestone. It's been a long time going. I did kind of a breakdown of how long it took me to get here. And I feel like my first video was in 2016. So almost 10 years to go from 0 to 100K. It definitely ramped up quite a bit over the last couple of years. I think I went from 25 to 100 in a year. So that's exciting. But anyways, yeah, let's talk about, what do we want to talk about today? What are we doing? So it took just long enough. Yeah, exactly. New wall art. Yeah, I don't actually know how that goes. So we're gonna see. But like, I don't know if YouTube does a batch where they just kind of email everybody that hits 100K for a given month, and they're like, enter your details here, or what? Or I mean, for all I know, they ended the program. But maybe we'll get a plaque. We'll see. Did the rebrand help? Oh man, what a good question. I hope so. Is the answer I'm going to give. And also, yes, yeah, heck yeah, Steven. And Steven is, let's see, where's a good. There's Steven. Oh, that's David K. Piano. Where's Steve, yeah, there's Steven there. Steven works at CodePen, and he and David K. Piano, the State Machines man himself, joined this most recent episode. This was a really fun one. Like, we asked people to do something kind of weird, like imagining what a completely different way to approach UX. We were using Algolia, which if you haven't used Algolia is pretty fun. And I think that's that's exciting. What's up? What's up, Danny? How you doing? Arguing with the Shopify docs. Yeah. It sounds about right. The content focus definitely helped. The rebrand, I would agree. The rebrand was the right choice. Like, there was no world where I could have done what I wanted to do with this channel and what I'm going on to do with this channel, because we're cooking up some new things too. And they just wouldn't have worked if it had been Learn with Jason, because it wouldn't have made logical sense. Like, we're working on a show right now that hopefully gets picked up. Well, fingers crossed. And it's going to be starring Annie, who you've probably seen in the Elite Heat commercials, and in she's the one who delivers the spicy bites in Elite Heat. She's funny as hell, and so we're going to do hopefully a show where she'll be front and center. We're also working on some ideas that would put some faces that you've maybe seen before, some that you haven't, out as like primary talent on the shows. And I might not be in them at all, right? And it would be weird if the channel was called Learn with Jason for that. So I think the branded code TV was the right choice. I do think it helped. Yeah, Annie is great. And I'm like super excited to give Annie more of a platform. Like, she's already killing it on her own. And yeah, we need a DJ battle between, what we do. That's what we really need is it was funny because we shot these episodes back to back, and both teams showed up and built their apps before either episode had aired. So there was no way they could have known that they both kind of taken a crack at an AI app. So that was kind of a fun thing. And so Danny is referring to a photo I took where, let me see if I can find this to pull it up for the record here, because I think it's really funny. Here it is. Let me make it the right size so that we're. Here we go. Let me bring this over and share the screen again. So I sent this to Danny because we did the episode with Ryan, which is that this one? No, that's not this one. It's the next one. So we had Ryan Furr on the show, and I got Ryan to come out, and in order to come out, Ryan skipped one of Danny's meetups. So we texted Danny here just to give him some shit. Excellent stuff. But so yeah, let's get this back off the screen. Okay, so that was funny. What are we doing? Yeah, demonetized. Yeah, that would be a whole thing. Speaking of music, have you heard of Strudel? I don't know. What is Strudel? Dynamic music pieces in the browser. Okay. All right. This is kind of cool. I have not used this. This is fun. Strudel is also a dessert. That is true. That is true. But yeah, there's Strudel, so that if anybody wants to check that out, I will pull it up on the screen here as well. This kind of looks like it is Tidal Cycles. That's cool. That's very cool. So it looks like you would use all the same rules as you would in Title Cycle. And if you want to learn about that, we did an episode. Here it is, Dan Gorlick. And this one, I believe, yeah, this is the one where we use Title Cycle. So if you want to see how that works and what it does, play on this. So I haven't set this up to actually work with like it won't play music through. So I will hear this, but you won't. Yeah, this is cool. Like I like it's always a little weird to get into one of these, but once you start figuring out how to do the sort of sequencer thing here, so you got your bass drum, you got your hi-hat, you got your open hi-hat, and this is saying to alternate between the two. And then you do it times two so that you hit the full four bars. So, and then this, I don't know what that is. I'm assuming that is the sound pack. And so basically you're able to sort of like very quickly give things a try and build out a beat and try some fun stuff. So that's I do love this kind of stuff. I just haven't had a ton of time to play with it. It was messing with my audio through the stream. Good. What's up, Bad Cop? How you doing? What's up, Ryan? We were just talking about you. Danny did mention the drama because I mean we all knew Danny was going to mention the drama. Like there's no world where Danny wasn't going to turn this into a thing. Okay, cool. So yeah, so there's a couple things. Let's see. We talked about the 100K. We talked about the new episode of Web Dev Challenge. We did I talk about the improved membership stuff? I think I talked about this briefly last week. Let me show it again for just a quick minute because I'm so excited about it, and I made some improvements too that I'm really pumped about. So if I come over here, we'll go to the Web Dev Challenge. Oh, we can talk about. I actually might work on this a little bit today. But so check this out. So we now have it set up where if you are logged out, let me log out. When you come down here and you're like, hey, I want to become a supporter. Also, why isn't it showing up here? It says become a supporter. And then like down here, like I want to become a supporter. So you click this button and it comes over here. Now, instead of like a weird markdown page that gives you a list of instructions, you can actually create your account, which is immediately just a better experience, I think. And then when you go here, you log in, and I already have an account, so it's not going to take me through the full account creation process, which would just be like doing the OAuth with GitHub and so on and so forth. It then takes you through to your dashboard. And I am already a subscriber, so you can kind of see that I have all these things. But then you can also see here, you can see your perks and like what you get as a member, as a supporter. And this is really exciting to me because I think before it wasn't super clear that there was any like benefit other than helping create new content, which obviously I'm biased. I think that's a great reason to become a supporter, and it has made a big difference for us. But for folks who are maybe wondering what do they get out of it, aside from new content, you get the early access. If you're in the Discord, we have a special role, and I am going to I've got a couple ideas for cool things that we're going to do. I'm looking at a way to do extended demos from Web Dev Challenge so that you'll get a little more insight into like how the code works, but those will be supporters only. And I'm playing with a couple other ideas. Like we might switch Learn with Jason Live to be supporters only. I don't know. I'm seeking feedback on this. I have I have thoughts about Learn with Jason because we've been doing it forever, and what I've noticed is that it doesn't have the reach that I think it should. And I have a hunch that that's because it's a live stream, and I don't think that YouTube has a lot of incentive to share live streams. And I think that the format live is good. I think that the format on a watch back is slow. And so I have some ideas about ways that we could sort of move to a segment based thing. And then the segments could actually be released independently. So like there would be the first, 30 minutes where we talk about how to use the thing or what it is or why it exists. That's kind of a podcast, right? And if we released that as a standalone thing, like I want to know what this is about, but I don't necessarily care about code. You can listen to that and get a pretty good sense of it without needing to watch the video, right? So we could release that as an audio and video podcast for people. And then the build along part, if we clean up the presentation a little bit and do a tiny bit of like intro and setup, we could release that as a separate thing that's sort of like a, well, intro to this technology, a 0 to first running app kind of intro, and treat it as, if you're exploring a technology, this is a way to very quickly evaluate what's the experience like of using it and then kind of getting started. I feel like that if we split it into those two things, I actually think it would have a broader audience. And if we do that, then that would mean that there would be some kind of like pauses and breaks and stuff like that where we'd kind of reset for a couple things. And I thought it could be kind of fun to make that a supporters only perk. I'm also kind of kicking around the idea, and tell me if this is interesting to you. I've been wondering what it would be like if we were to just turn on a supporters only live stream on filming days. So you wouldn't really be able to like actually see what's going on because it would be a static camera, but you'd kind of get almost like a security cam feed of how the productions work. So it would be a very like behind the scenes, probably wouldn't be able to hear very much of the audio, but it could be an interesting way to sort of like peek in on how we make one of these shows and like how it goes over the course of the 10 hours that we're filming to make an episode of Web Dev Challenge. Again, I'm trying to think of ways to like make it interesting for folks to want to upgrade and want to be more engaged with the series, if that makes sense. Like I want people to be really, I want you to feel like you're getting a lot. The other thing that we're doing that I'm really excited about is we're starting to work on merch. And so we have a couple of designs. Let me pull up this thing. Actually, before I move on, let me look through. What's up, Buckshot? How you doing? Yeah, I'm not a gold supporter. I keep changing my support level so that I can test different things. Something just for the minis that says I'm just here for the Envers. Yeah, good. Another episode of Leaking Data with Jason. Correct. That is indeed what we're going to do today. I do have an idea to work on something fun I've been messing with. Let's see. Director commentary would be cool. Okay. So this is one of those things that I don't know where the line is between like adding value and just sort of like cosplaying that we're something that we're not. Like, do people actually care what I have to say about the like making up, like if there was an audio track of me watching the show and like talking about different segments of it, is that actually interesting? Because I feel like, I don't know, to like, and this might just be like my own hangups, but I feel like that would be very self-serving, like me assuming that anybody cares. Live for supporters would make it an early access perk. That's for sure there. Yeah, and Learn with Jason split into live and recorded is kind of the idea. The like you'd be able to watch it live. It would be a little bit more, you'd get a little bit more of a peek behind the scenes because we would kind of like stop between segments and reset some things. And then the clean edit would go out on two different channels, I think. Dropouts behind the scenes episode of every Game Changer shoot has been, well, I guess that's true. Like it's not like anybody would be forced to watch it. Like having extra content that somebody can opt into if they want to see more of how something is made, as long as I don't convince myself that this is somehow like an important thing that people need to see. I think that would be, yeah, I think that, yeah, this is maybe the thing. Interesting once, but I don't think it would be for every episode. I agree. And maybe what it could be too is instead of a like watch the full episode, it could be more of a like key interesting parts of the episode. I don't know. We could see. There's maybe some interesting stuff there. You've learned things that you thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Cripsies. Glad you're enjoying it. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about the I was going to pull up the merch. Let's see, where did it go? Buried in here somewhere. Threads are really hard in here's threads. Here we go. No, that's actually not that hard. You just have to know which button it is. Let me pull this across. So we've been playing with a bunch of ideas in here, and let's see. So like this one, probably going to be a sticker. Really, really excited about that. Steven, who is in the most recent episode, actually designed this one. And then this is like some Keyframers merch. If you haven't seen the Keyframers merch, let me drop a quick link to that because they've got some great merch. Yeah, so this is the Keyframers. They've got Steven is just a very like creative guy. You'll see this shirt in the latest episode. This one's really fun. There's some good, like this is great. Like there's a lot of cool stuff going on in here that I enjoy. And then I think the other place we were taking ideas from is like Syntax always has great merch. And so kind of when you go, I guess it's Century merch now. So if you look at the Syntax stuff, they've always got like, it's never like a big thing that just says Syntax on it. It is something, well, I guess sometimes it is like that does, but they do stuff like this that I love. Here's the Blazing Fast shirt. This is a Webmaster shirt. This is they just made like a prettier shirt. That's cool. Drizzle. Oh, interesting. So they're kind of like also working with open source libraries to make custom merch. That's cool. But it's like they're just kind of like doing fun art, and I really like that. And I think that is much more fun than just dropping the Code TV logo on a bunch of stuff. And if you look into this thread, you will see that I was in fact starting out by just kind of throwing the logo onto things. Yeah, we were talking about this, and then I was trying to come up with something good. This is a great idea that we're also probably going to make. But then I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe we put a little like quote on there or something, and I don't know. They're fine. We're gonna make this one. If you get the reference, thank you for watching even the deep cuts. And then we're just kind of like messing around with a lot of different ideas, trying to find the right things. If you've got ideas, please do jump in. You got to get in this it's in general. You hit threads up here, you can see the merch suggestions and kind of dive in and get some ideas. But like we're trying to figure out like how to approach this, and I very much want a lot of feedback on this, because ultimately this has got to be something that you want, right? Because why else would I make it? I can make a one-off for myself, but I want to make stuff that people want to buy, that they want to wear, and that they feel like excited about. I think that stuff is cool. So anyways, dig through here, have a good time. I'm working on some things. I'm trying to like get some artists to get down and help us with this. And I think that'll be really fun. So, okay, let me show you this other thing I did. I'm really excited about this. I have new forms, which this is kind of security through obscurity, so whatever, it is what it is, but I'm just not going to share the public link of this, just because I don't want to accidentally invite spam. Not that y'all would spam, but I leave the robot spam. So this is a form that we're doing that's like, originally this was a Google form. And so I wanted to put together the ability to like do the info that you need and have that show up in the places that I need it, without a bunch of manual work. And so right now, the way that it works is somebody will, if I invite them to be on Web Dev Challenge, they got to fill out this questionnaire. It's a Google form. That Google form submits to a Google Sheet. And then from that Google Sheet, I have to copy paste their like website, their YouTube address, if they have one, any other social links. I have to like copy paste all that over into Sanity so that when we post the episode, and you can see like let's go to Code TV. We go look at one of these episodes. You can see down here, we've got like each of the people. And then if we like click in, you can see which episodes they're in, but we've also got their links. And then on some of them, which I think this is I keep breaking this. I need to fix it. This is the, like it shows a bio. And so you can kind of like dive in and see what everybody's doing. But I was having to manually do that. For this, I had to manually do this where I'm like creating a photo. I'm doing all that, and it's all from the details that are being shared in here. Let me make sure I didn't accident. Oh my God, I'm not showing you anything. Do you ever just wonder how you survive to adulthood? Okay. Yeah, let's try this again. Let's try this one more time. Okay. So this is the form that I use to accept submissions to Web Dev Challenge. So I send this over, and when you get this, I need like, you got to sign the video release so that I can legally post footage of you. We need some confirmations about travel and stuff. I need to know your email and your phone number so that we can talk to you on the day of. I set up a group chat for everybody. I previously haven't been doing this because I wasn't asking permission, and it takes a long time to like individually ask. So now there's kind of like a straight up like, hey, do you want to be in a group chat? And then, I need your bio. I need your links. I need your food preferences, because I cook and I book a dinner. And so I need to know, like, are you vegan? Are you dairy free? Whatever. And then also on the day of, we order coffee. So I need to know that. So all of that information is important for me to have, but it was currently being Google Form to Google Sheet, and then a lot of manual copy pasting between places. And some of that's not going to change. Like I'm always going to need to copy paste the coffee order, for example. Well, I guess I don't have to. I could build out a coffee order script, and who knows, maybe one day I'll do that. But some of this other stuff is like, I don't actually need to copy this anywhere. I just need to be able to look at it all in one place, so that when I make the dinner reservation, or when I design the menu for the dinner I'm going to cook, I'm making sure that I'm like accounting for that, and not putting people in a position where I'm serving something they don't want to eat, or that they can't eat. So what it did before is it would submit to a Google Sheet. And then let me just double check really quick that I'm not about to dox myself if I show this test sheet. I am. So I'm going to take these two out. Yeah, these are my test entries. Okay. So let me reshare this screen. And so in here, you can see like what it does. What I have now is I set up an ingest automation that is taking these details and it puts them in a sheet like I need, which is, stuff that I need to make sure I have. Like I need the video release acknowledgement, the reimbursement acknowledgement, and then email and phone. So I need to have those all in one place. But then like I'm not keeping the links in here. I'm not keeping the bio in here because I don't have to copy paste it anymore, because it automatically now updates Sanity and Clerk so that the Clerk stuff is there. And then like if you have any dietary requirements, you food adventurous, et cetera, I then am able to do that. And then I can choose the episodes out of the drop down so that we like so that I can keep everybody organized, right? So cuts down on admin work for me a bit, right? It eliminates probably 30 minutes of copy pasting and automatically putting people's accounts into Sanity. And it also solves this other problem I have, which is right now, if you are a guest on the show and you don't have a Code TV account, I create one for you manually, but then when you sign up to Code TV, it doesn't link those accounts because I don't have I don't know what email you're going to use. I don't want to build a really complicated, like, hey, it seems like maybe you're this person. I don't have any way of doing like a validation step to make sure that somebody doesn't just say like, yes, I am in fact this person who doesn't have a Code TV account. And then they can like post a bunch of spammy links. So it's all like, there's some stuff that I need to clean up, but this will solve a big problem for me, which I am actually almost positive right now that I have duplicates of at least 2 people from the most recent episode because I saw them set up accounts later. And so because of that, I'm going to have to go in and manually dedupe those. This new form is going to probably save me, I don't know, per episode, I would guess somewhere between like 20 and 40 minutes, right? And it took me, to answer your question, Jacob, I would say this probably took me 10 hours to set up front to back. Well, a focused work, maybe like 7, right? Because I was sort of bouncing between other stuff. Like I cleaned up some UX stuff on the site, and I worked on some of the bugs and the issue tracker for Code TV. And so, yeah, but it was 2 days of kind of plugging away at this to get it to where I wanted it to go. And the way that it works now that I'm very excited about is, let's see, we're going to need that one. And so we have like this web dev challenge form here. And what it's doing is we check to make sure that somebody signed in. So they have to create an account before they can fill out the form. That's really the whole game. Like we need them to have that account. And then we have the ability to look up to see if they already have one. And then we get like their user details. We get that get person ID is loading their Sanity details if they've already created an account. And we also check, we're using Astro Actions here. So we're checking the result to see if they have in fact already submitted, then we send them over to the submitted page instead of showing them the form again. We could also like show them the form again, but put in a note that says like, hey, submitted, thank you. But I chose to just make a page for it. It seemed easier. And if you're not signed in, we just sign up we do a sign in flow. So you're going to create your account or sign into your account, and then it's going to bring you back to this page when you're done. Then we have straight up HTML. And this is one of the things I love the most about Astro is this is all semantic HTML. So it's a form. Each of the fields is a label and an input. We're able to use like basic, required stuff. And I didn't want to get into anything weird like patterns. So I left that out, and I'm just trusting people. Like if somebody gives me bad data, I'm just going to call them or email them and be like, hey, I need you to like fix this. And it's such a small number of people, and it's like a very high context form. So I didn't want to make it hard for people to fill out. And then we have a couple other things here, like the travel reimbursement. We've got, an email form. We've got, and if we already have their email, like if they have signed in already, then we put their primary email in as like a default, and obviously they can change it if they prefer that we use a different email. Same here, if they put in a phone number into Clerk, we will grab that and show it as a default. Let's see, if we have their bio, like if they've already filled out their bio in the account panel, we'll use that and they can edit it here. Same with links. We'll grab their links out of their profile and show those, and then they can choose to add or remove them if they want to update them. And then down a little bit lower, we have, what else we got? We got food preferences, and this is, it's a text area. We've got a drop down on this where, I want people to choose like what, to kind of choose your own adventure. I can get us into some pretty strange places in Portland. There's a lot of really good opportunities to eat stuff you've never eaten before. Um, or, we've got like some of the best simple stuff, fried chicken, pizza, burgers, whatever. We can make that happen too. So if everybody is more on the picky side, I'm going to take you to a great pizza place, great burger place. If everybody's on the real adventurous side, I might take you to, I got a group that's coming in soon. They're real adventurous. We're going to a place called Gato Gato, which is like an Indonesian restaurant. They do a rice table, which is, they just kind of keep bringing out plates of things that you've, potentially never eaten in your life that are extremely good, and it's real exciting, but some of it's weird. And so if you're picky, it's probably not the place for you, right? And then coffee order is an input. Okay, so this is all pretty straightforward. We keep their user ID and their username down here as hidden fields so that we've got that for reference. And then we've got a little bit of like link magic here. So we use the HTML template tag to design what it looks like when you want to create a new link, and that creates a label input. For the link, let's see, what is it? For the link label and for the link URL, and then a button to remove it. This is a little trash can SVG that we just inline. And then down here, we have the setup for the link bio, where we are kind of like adding handlers that when you click the removal button, which is going to be dynamically added, we need to sort of do that whenever somebody updates the page and all these kind of things. So we've got the template, we've got the add link, we've got all these pieces. Once you do the thing, we're going to add the link, we're going to add the remove handlers. And then we've got the ability to update the profile form, at which point we will send it through and disable the form so that you don't multi-submit it. Actually, you know what? This is vestigial because I pulled this out of somewhere else. But all that is just kind of how we make this thing run. It's all like plain old JS. Keep it simple. But 10 hours to save 30 minutes per episode, right? And now keep in mind, I've done 26 episodes of Web Dev Challenge, and I have no intention, 20. That's not true. We will have done 26 by the end of this year. So we've done the 16th episode, just went live today, or I guess went public today. And then we have 2 more, one filmed, one filming soon, and then we've got 2 more in discussion. We should end at 16 for season 2 is my hunch. And then I'm fully intending to do a season 3. So each episode is 30 minutes. So just this year, I'll save 6 by 30 is 3 hours. And then next season, I'll save another 5 to 10. And this script that I used will be able to just update the Google Sheet ID and the questions for any future shows that we need and take on as well. So basically, it should, in theory, save me probably at least as many hours as I put into it this year. But realistically, over the course of the next couple of years, this should probably save me 2 or 3 times as much effort as I put into it, which, it's a modest savings, but it's also one of those, like, it's a frustration thing. Like, it's always, I got to get this thing up. And then, you got to sit down and do like an hour of admin work between getting the show description written up and getting the participants written in. And just, it's not like, none of it's bad, but it's enough pain that I like dread it a little bit. And so the trade-off, I think, is, and I mean, honestly, I'm a nerd. It's fun to build this stuff. So there was like a payoff in the process of figuring all of this out, because check out how it works. This is where it also gets really exciting. In here, we did the ingest stuff. And so I have, let's see, here's the, or no, is it this one? It's you. Yeah. Let's see. So there's the access token thing. This is kind of like, when you solve a problem by like smashing something with a hammer. This is definitely one of those. So let's let's maybe go thing at a time here. So that's the helper. Let's get into ingest, and we're going to go all the way down until we find the thing that I'm doing, which is the intake. Okay, here it is. So when we fire off this code TV forms submit, which comes from the action, right? So if you remember, let me keep this one open, and then we'll keep that one open, and we're going to open up web dev. Oh, not you. Come on. Open up web dev challenge, and we've got the action in here in our form. I guess we're just pulling it in up here. We've got our actions, and it's forms WDC, and then that's also where we submit to is forms WDC. So if I go into my actions in Astro, then we can see in here, I did hit a weird thing with this. I'm assuming I did something wrong, but I haven't been able to get in touch with the Astro team yet to figure out why. I couldn't get their input handler to work. So instead, what I'm doing is I'm submitting the form data, and then I'm just using the form data APIs to build out the data object here. So we grab the link labels, we grab the raw input. These ones are special because they're an array. So you have to use get all. Everything else we can just .get and put right in here. And then I also wanted to convert the link label and link URL arrays into objects per link. So instead of being like an object.entries thing, and instead it would be a I just realized I could have just done. No, I couldn't have. Never mind. Ignore everything I'm saying right now because I'm getting lost. So we get the labels and the URLs. We convert those here into an array of objects that have a label and a URL. And then down here, we grab out the raw input. So all of the fields that were in the form. God, that button. And then down here, we define a Zod schema. And that is the object that I want. So it's got all the validation that I need, all those good pieces. And then we parse the raw input to get our data. And then now you can see here, we can be confident that if it gets through here, it's in the shape that we expected because that's what Zod does. So then I can fire off this ingest event. And so I send off the submit event, and we send it the data, and that's what we return. We return the results of sending that ingest thing. So when I come over here to this ingest thing, that's where we start here. It calls this this function, and we get, you can see here, here's all of our data, and I can see if I look at the data, it's pulling through that type because we typed things properly. Hooray. So then I can update my sanity user. So this fires off the sanity step. This fires off the sheet update, which we can look at in a second. And this this promise.all means that these two run in parallel because we didn't await the step, right? So each of these becomes a promise. So they're executing in parallel. And then here we await both of those to make sure that they don't block each other because they're not dependent on each other. And then we get back our sheet URL, right? So once I have the sheet URL, which is what append entry generates, we can look at that in a second, then I'm able to send a Discord notification, which tags, or it doesn't tag me, it just notifies me because it's in a channel that I get alerts for, that says that somebody filled out the Web Dev Challenge onboarding form and then puts up a link to see the sheet. So this now allows me to eliminate an email because I was getting an email for each Google form entry, and it puts everything into Discord, which is kind of like my hub for a lot of the admin stuff that I do, because it's like, that's where Aiden is, and so we coordinate in there. That's where Chris, who edits the Learn with Jason stuff, is, and so we coordinate in there. It's where the mods are. It's where a lot of stuff is happening. So by putting this into Discord, it's kind of letting me know, like, oh yeah, something's going on. And I also know the sheet URL doesn't change, so I just have that pinned, and I can just go check it as well manually if I need to. So inside the sheets, what we're doing is we're using Google Sheets, which I really don't care for the way that Google's APIs work, but Google Sheets are still the best solution to most software problems. So so this is a function that I pulled out of a blog. I should have put a note in on whose it was, but I found this in a blog on how to do the token request, because you have to use your service account and private key, which this stupid thing is a it's like one of those big keys, like when you get a certificate for a server and it starts with like begin private key and has all the dashes. If I don't know if you've ever seen one of those, but they're like 2 kilobytes, right? So when you go to set environment variables, one of these will take your environment over the limit that you can deploy to Lambda, which causes problems when you are hosting on Netlify, which means I needed to bring in this other solution, which is .env, which is short for encrypted, which means that now I have some of my, and look at this, you'll be so happy, Vinny's, because these are my secrets. But this is an encrypted version of environment variables. And these are 2 private keys, one for Mux and one for Google, that are too big to put into the environment variables for Lambda. So instead, I have to commit them to the repo. And then once they're committed to the repo, I have to use .env, which pulls up which is able to decode these, right? So it grabs that file. It uses the password that we've stored to decrypt the files, and that leads to me getting my environment, right? And so now I have in my env the private key, right? Huge pain in my ass, like just such a long walk for what should have been an API key. And then once you've got your token, right? So all of that just gets us to step 1 here, which is that we get an access token, at which point I can build out my entry from the details that we got out of the form. So these are all the same things: signature, role, email, phone, etc. And then we go to our Google Sheet, pass in the sheet ID, pass in the sheet range, and the sheet range is just like, where does the field or the table start? And then there's a couple like user entered stuff and insert rows. I'm pretty sure these are defaults if I left those off, but I'm not gonna, who cares, be clear. And then you pass in this access token that I generated so that we can then pass in our values. And the values are an array of arrays. That's for rows, like the array is the rows, and then the array inside is the cells inside of that row. So we do that. Oh, whoops, shouldn't be returning that anymore. And then this was my debugging. I was trying to figure out how all this stuff worked because it was being super weird. Then we get our spreadsheet ID. We build out a link to the spreadsheet. Obviously, this is only shared with me, so this link wouldn't work for anybody who doesn't have access, which again is I'm just leaning on like Google Sheets because they built in a permissioning system and they have the ability to do things like viewer only access or commenter only access. And I could probably build that, but why? Why would I do that when I could just use a Google Sheet? So then once we get that sheet, then that takes us out again to here where we've got all these details. So this is all good. And then let me see if I go through and fill this out, for example, I can, we'll just do like a fully test thing. So we check all the boxes. We do one of these. We've already got a bio and links, but why don't we add another link and we will say, I don't know, we'll do my LinkedIn, because this is actually going to update my profile. So I should use a real link instead of putting in some junk. And then got my food preferences. So we'll say none. And then we can pick out how adventurous we are. Cool. And we'll say 12-ounce latte. Great. Okay. So then I update my profile. It does the submission. Takes me through here. And then if I want to look at my dashboard, I can see that my links have been updated. And so this is here. It's doing what I expect it to do. And then if I want to get rid of that, for example, I can just update that profile and that will fix that. Those of you who have tried this before and had weird behavior where it like takes a second, I added optimistic optimistic rendering here so that you don't have to wait the 3 seconds that it takes for this like round trip to Sanity and Clerk and everything to happen and then respond. It just updates this. And then if we refresh again, oh, that's a pain in the butt, isn't it? Oh, I don't want to refresh. I just want to, oh, come on. You know what? It doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about. Anyway, so it did that. And then if I look in my test sheet, we can see here's the new entry that just came in today. It's the 15th. So here's our entry over here, and all the details that we put in are in fact present. So that's all really cool. And then if I go to Discord, let me double check that this is not showing anything that I don't want it to show before I pull it up. Okay, and so the rest of these details are going to be visible publicly anyway, so I'm just going to let that go. So now you can see as well that it sent me this note that says that it filled out the onboarding form, and then I can click through to view the submission, and there we are, right? So this is like one of those little things that, as far as internal tools go, it's not critical to have these sorts of things, but it's the little paper cuts that when you're trying to do a million things to operate a business, little stuff like this eats 20 minutes and my context. You know, if I'm trying to burn through my emails, but then I have to take, an hour to put up the next episode, and most of that is kind of copy paste work out of Google Sheets. It just kind of burns that willpower that you have to do something that's actually important. And I could probably hire somebody to do this extra work, and that would be a reasonable thing to do. And honestly, I am started writing a job description. We're going to open up the first job for Code TV. It's going to be an operations job, so don't get too excited if you were just like, oh my God, this is my dream job. It's not going to be a dream job. It is going to be an operations job. But that's probably going to come, and that will be approaching some of these things. The sort of, doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah. So anyways, heard picky and said that would be you. The day water becomes spicy. Nice. What is a web demo? I guess a web demo is what we're doing right now. We're digging through how a piece of the Code TV website software works. Yeah, I want the unencrypted versions only. Exactly. Yeah, chat versus Jason. That's generally how these go. Yeah, exactly. This is now I'm just going real antagonistic about this. So Lambda env cannot hold a 256 key and the other things that I need, because I'm also sending through, keep in mind, I'm sending through Clerk, Stripe, Sanity. What else? Let's look at my the .env example. Here's the template. So we're sending through Clerk, Stripe, Mux, Cloudinary, ConvertKit, Sanity, Ingest, Discord, Netlify, and Algolia keys. And so these all end up being a decent size. And when you also put Mux has a private key that is another 256 key, and then Google Service accounts have a private key, which is a 256 key. So it ends up being like one of the private keys, in addition to this, overflows the 4 kilobyte limit for AWS. And my hunch is that it's not entirely my fault. I think Netlify is also sending some built-in environment variables that eat up a portion of that limit, and I don't know how much of that portion it is. But anyways, this is a feature request that I would have, is for companies like Netlify to just solve this problem. Like, they could just build that, right? They could just ship off everything encrypted, and I would never have to know that it happened, and I could have unlimited environment variables, right? It seems like the sort of thing that would be a nice little quality of life upgrade. I don't know. I can't imagine that this is super common for people to. Well, actually, you know what? I don't think this is a particularly aggressive production site. Um, I mean, I guess maybe this would get broken up into services. And honestly, the further we go down this road, the more likely it's appearing that I probably will need to break it into services, because like right now nobody can do local dev on the Code TV site if they want to like fix a layout bug, because they need all of these environment variables, and it's completely untenable to imagine handing out these keys, even if they're all test keys, to every contributor. That's ridiculous, right? So probably what we'll need to do is turn these into, like, maybe this turns into an NX mono repo, and the ingest stuff lives in its own service, or maybe even we break the ingest functions up by what they touch. So like have a module of Stripe ingest functions and a module of Mux, and et cetera, et cetera. The coolest thing would be to set it all up with a mock server, but I don't know exactly. I've done it before, but it was years ago, right? Like I was still at IBM the last. No, that's not true. I think I set this up at Gatsby, but we needed to set up some like mock stuff so that if you didn't have the environment variables, you could still fire up the repo. It would just sort of like no-op on things, or it would put like dummy data up if you were trying to hit one of the services that was mocked. Which was great because it meant that anybody could work on the service and it didn't break. It just gave you unchanging data. But you also had no ability to like cause problems or have to deal with a database string or all these other problems. So that's that's the whole thing. Oh, I guess yeah, exactly. I did have to do exactly that. Let's see. That's why I procrastinate. Yeah, that's probably true. It might be someone's dream job. You're definitely true. Like, I think, and you know what? That's actually, I should take that. I'll walk that entire statement back. The person that I would like to hire, honestly, this should be their dream job. Like somebody who really wants to run, what will be a combination like studio and development agency, and who's like super excited about making sure the trains run on time and making sure that all the people have all the information and that there's good run books and good systems and checklists. Like that's exactly what I need. And I just don't want to do it. But the person who finds that to be a dream job is going to be the perfect person for this role. Still working out some of the details. Like I would really, really like to find a way to do this as a like profit sharing sort of thing. Like I really, what I want is like, I'm trying to imagine, okay, here we go. I want to imagine what it's like to run a company that is setting the right incentives. This is my political soapbox, but I think that one of the worst things that has happened in modern society is the stock market. And I don't mean that in the sense of like the stock market itself is evil. What I mean is that it completely misaligned incentives for companies, because when you have a business, right? Like if you own a business, you're a local grocer, you have customers and you have employees. And in order to grow your business, you need employees that do a good job and you need customers that really like you. And historically, you kind of had these natural restrictions on what you could and couldn't do as a business owner, because if you treated your employees poorly, they were all your neighbors, right? They were also probably your customers because you were one of the only grocery stores in town. So if you treated people poorly, the folks in town would know about it, and you would get the pressure of like, don't do that, right? But and I think that originally when we started companies, there was this sort of the incentives were all really aligned. If you join a company and you work hard and you do good work, you are going to steadily climb the ladder, get a pension. You're going to build a retirement fund. You're going to get bonuses at the end of the year that are kind of profit based, right? So you make the company do better. You get a bonus directly proportional to the amount of success that the company had, right? Like, so as a team, you're very incentivized to go do good work because a $25,000 bonus at Christmas time, because you managed to make the company an extra couple $1,000,000, and that all breaks out to, your 0.2% or whatever is worth, I don't know, we'll say $25,000 so that I don't have to go do math. That sort of thing it's a directly aligned incentive. The company is incentivized to create an environment that makes people feel welcome and valued and like they want to stay there and do great work. And people are incentivized to do great work because they directly benefit from the output of their labor. In the stock market, we've completely broken that model, where instead you have companies that are beholden to shareholders. Now, the shareholders' only stake in the company, their only incentive is to make more money. And if you treat your employees badly, but the shareholders make more money, there's no real pressure outside of the sort of social media, like, this person is a bad person. And we've seen that doesn't really deter the types of people who make lots of money by delivering shareholder value. The other thing is that as an employee, you've completely lost your incentive to stay or do a good job. And I think that's why we're seeing that, like, average tenures at companies are hitting like 18 to 36 months. Like, why stay at a company? You stay exactly long enough to get the incentives you were promised. 4 years to the day you are out, right? Because why would you stay longer? You're not getting any additional benefits by doing it, because the company doesn't pay you based on the results you get. They pay you based on what they were able to negotiate you down to. And their incentive is to give you as little as possible so that they're able to move that money up the chain to shareholders, because that's where the incentive lies, right? Okay, so that's my soapbox. That's my rant. So what does it look like to make a company that doesn't misalign incentives? I don't know. There's a lot of good examples of companies that have done it. I'm looking into those. I'm trying to figure out what the right way to do it is. But here's my hunch. My hunch is, if you don't take venture capital, or if you only work with investors that have the same values and are willing to sign contracts that like make that an ironclad, like, we will always have the same values, you can build a company that is based on profit sharing, that's based on like direct incentives, that you can make it so that if somebody joins your company, the better the company does, the better each individual employee does. My hunch is that it starts with just pay a wage that's competitive, right? So I'm looking at the job that I'm going to open is probably like a studio manager role. It is going to be a Portland-based role. Just, we've got a lot of stuff going in person. I am going to need the person to be around. But so I looked, what's the competitive salary, and I went to the high end of the competitive salary, because I want that to be what somebody, if somebody gets this job and it's a job that they've had before or a job that they've been looking into, I want this to be the one that's like, oh, good, they're going to pay me what I'm worth. Like, it's top of band, not bottom of band, right? And I want to be able to put in a profit sharing incentive, because the reason I'm hiring is because I'm pretty sure I'm rate limited right now. Like, I can't do more than I'm currently doing. Like, I am starting to feel the barest tinges of burnout, because I'm doing a lot more than I usually do. And so being able to hand some of this stuff off, it should decrease the demands on me, and also allow me to stay more in context on one category or two categories of things, really. Like, right now I do sales, operations, and execution. If I can hand off operations, that allows me to stay on sales and execution. And if we grow enough, then hopefully that means that I can also bring in somebody to help with sales. That would be sort of the dream, right? It's like, let me run on execution, have somebody running operations, have somebody running sales. And each time somebody comes in, I fully expect the company should be able to double, right? At least double. Because I mean, not immediately, but like, as we get into our lanes and grow, the company should grow with us. And if that person comes in and gets, we say the profit sharing is going to be like, I don't know, a 0.25 or 0.5% of profit sharing bonus. then, you know, we go out and we do, I don't know, like we go up to 2 million in revenue or something. I have no idea what that actually is. Am I doing like insulting math here? What is 1 million or 2 million times point zero? Okay, so it was like a 0.5% profit share. That's a $10,000 bonus if the company does 2 million. And granted, that needs to be heavily caveated, because if the company does 2 million, we probably spend 1.7 of that on contractors, materials, production fees, and et cetera, et cetera. Like it's not like we're just raking in the cash and we would dole out paltry little bonuses. But the rich people's feelings graph. Yes, it will be an in-person job, because I need that. It's going to be just too much. Like there's stuff like we got to run. We'll have to deliver. Like there's printing stuff that needs to be done. There's things that have to happen around the studio. There's like prep work for individual presentations, like printing, and we need physical copies of the call sheets and stuff like that. So there's going to be just enough in-person stuff that it's going to have to be an in-person job, I think. But it'll be hybrid. Like I'm in the studio probably 2 to 3 days a week, and I don't even know that would be necessary for the operations manager. I would say they're probably in the studio maybe 1 day a week. But yeah. This keyboard here. This keyboard is great after you learn how to use it. I definitely had to like relearn how to type when I got this keyboard. It was a giant pain, but I do like it now, and my wrists don't hurt. So I would say the trade-off was worth it, but it was a solid 3 weeks of typing at like 10 words per minute until I got the hang of it again. So anyways, what were we talking about? We were talking about this new ingest stuff and how we got this thing automated. So the other thing I was thinking about doing, and this could be, how much time we got? We got like 2 hours. Maybe what we could try to do is play with the idea of perhaps building out another automation that I've been wanting to build out. And like the Notion API is similarly kind of a bear. But it would be nice. It would be nice to make that work. So here's my vision for this. Let's think about this actually and see if I have a clear enough understanding of what it is that I want to do to start building it. Is that a duck or a cat? This is in fact it's a corgi duck. So I drew this during the pandemic. Not like the 3D version, but I drew a 2D version of this during the pandemic. And then somebody was like, "Oh, it'd be funny if you made a real rubber duck." And then I did one of those things where I like, when you get an idea, more or less an intrusive thought, like you're like, I could make a rubber duck. How do you make a rubber duck? What does that even look like? So I ended up following this rabbit hole all the way down to contacting a manufacturer in China who like sculpted a version of this and then manufactured them and like shipped them to me shipping container. And now I have like 1,000 rubber ducks. Not quite. I've sold a few. There's like 700 of these left. Yeah, for rubber ducking, it is exactly for rubber ducking problems like this. We're opening up the Code TV merch store again, and these are going to be on it for specifically for rubber ducking. Also, we've been planning a skit about rubber ducking that I think this little guy is going to feature heavily in. Let's see. Is there any Figma beginner guide? I mean, I'm sure there are. I don't feel like I have one, but there are people that I would turn to if I wanted to know this one. So Jake is well. Actually, here's a good question. Shrivancha, are you a dev? Like, do you write code and want to learn how to use Figma, or are you kind of like fresh to all of it and just looking to get into Figma first? Because that's gonna influence what I say here. And the reason I say that is that, so like Jake, for example, is a dev who works at Figma and does all sorts of fun kind of creative stuff with Figma and code. And so it's a good way to understand how they sort of fit together. He would also be a good resource for like, what is the 101? There's also Raji. What is Raji's? There it is. Raji is also a was in, what do they call it? Designer relations at Figma, but is now actually working in product at Figma. But Raji also has a ton of information and could give you pointers to really good materials to get started. Also, this website is just amazing. Like, it makes me very happy. Like, he got the noise. It's a simple thing. Oh, that's not what I wanted at all. Oh, it's like, oh, here's all the resources. That's cool. Okay, that is super cool. But anyway, so there's a bunch of stuff on here that you can kind of get, like, poke around at and see. Raji is super talented, very much somebody to I mean, just follow in general, but especially if you have Figma questions, would be somebody with just a boatload of good information. And then we also have Ryan. Here's an introduction to Figma for developers. If you are interested in such things, that's a fun one. Ryan is really fun to. He's just a creative dude, and always interesting. Is AI going to replace web developers? No. Let's see what else. And okay, so let's talk a little bit about what I would like to do here. So my, oops, not that. So here's kind of how I operate Web Dev Challenge. It's a Notion form, right? And so let's look at one of these that exists. There shouldn't be any, yeah. So this is all the kind of details that you would see on the site, right? So this is what we send out to the devs to kind of prep them. We kind of give them information about, who the advisors are, and so like, if you've seen one of the descriptions for an episode, you've seen this before. This is how I kind of prep these and plan these and all those sorts of things. But so there's a couple other things that I do with these, like I use them to build out my newsletter in Notion, which I need to send. But yeah, so there's like a million little ways that I use Notion to just sort of make my life easier. Another one that I do, let's see, what would be the actual like automation that I'd want to build? Let's think about things that currently are hard for me. So here's one that we could do that would be kind of fun. Thumbnail generation, right? Now these ones, I choose photos manually for these because I have some theories about what works and what doesn't, and I'm currently testing them. My current hunch is that a person looking at a computer with visible hands is more effective than anything else for getting people to click on Web Dev Challenge. This one here is the most successful. Wait, not that one. This one. This one is the most successful thumbnail that we have. It's like an over 5% click-through rate. I do not understand it at all. If you paid me $1 million and said, "Hey, you got to pick the one that's gonna work," like never would I have guessed that this was going to be the most effective one. And like other ones, like this one is really effective, but this one wasn't. And I think it's because the code is harder to see, whereas this one, it's like really clearly code. This one I thought would be really effective because it's like people looking at a computer. Nope, nobody wants to talk about it because they can't see any code. Like these ones I think are really cool and kind of intriguing, right? This one I thought would work. Doesn't work, no hands. Just like pure mystery. This one works because it's got hands. This one worked because it's got hands. This one works because it's got hands. This one didn't, no hands. Like it's complete mystery. But I've become very superstitious about it. So I'm also really curious what'll happen with like this one, because this one is code and hands. So I think it's going to work. This one is code and hands, but the code's a little harder to see. So I think this one's going to perform a little bit better, or a little bit worse. I mean, just the utter mysteries of YouTube and what makes it function, like what makes somebody want to click a video and watch it. I'm so confused. Have I asked my viewers? I have, and they are all wrong also. We've polled on these. Like I've put together different cohorts of thumbnails and asked people like, which one do you think is going to do better? I've also asked professional YouTubers. Like I'm in a group of YouTubers who are all like developer YouTubers. And just for fun, I was like, okay, everybody make a prediction. Which one of these is going to work? And everybody was wrong. Almost everybody was wrong. It's like, it feels so magical. Like I am sure that there are some very good reasons that all of these things are the way they are, and like why they work and why they function the way they do. But I do not understand it. I don't think it does, because we've experimented with time of day, we've experimented with day of week, we've experimented with all sorts of things, and the only thing I can figure is it is, I mean, it is absolutely related to whether or not people like watch and engage with the video. So if you click the share button and send it to other people, that's a signal to the algorithm that it was good enough for you to want to show somebody else. If you comment, it was good enough for you to want to talk about. If you like it, that's you taking a minute to show that you liked it. If you subscribe to the channel because you watched the video, that's another signal that, hey, this content was good enough that somebody wanted to see more of it. If you watch a lot of it, then clearly it was like, you thought it was good enough to watch the whole thing. There's a million little ways that the algorithm sort of feeds on things. And then if you hit enough of those signals early on, what you'll see is that your impressions graph will kind of start like this, and then it'll go like this. Because they sort of like show it to people, and if they get the right engagement signals, they go to the next circle, and then if they decide that they like those engagement circles, and they go to the next circle. I can show you an example of this. I got to open up my analytics for a second, so I'm not going to show you everything, but I will show you one video because it's really interesting. Let's see, videos and you. Yeah, here you are. So this one is a good example. Here we go. So this one's a good example of kind of, it's kind of hard to see now because this one's been running for so long, but like, let's go, no, I want first 24 hours. April 15th, 16th. Let's go custom, and we'll go April 15th to like June, or I guess May 30th. Sure. But so it kind of starts by showing people the video, and then it tapers off, and then it shows more people the video, and then it tapers off. And then it shows more people the video, right? And so it's kind of does this weird thing where it's sort of like it like decides who it's going to show to. And then here again, you've got the uh the click-through rate, and it just sort of like stays up above 5%. And I do not, again, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why. And we tested this with a handful of things, and like, it's not like a huge difference, but you know, it's a little, it's different. I just don't get it. Just don't, I do not understand. It's like a very strange thing to see that, but yeah, it's like, it's chilling out here, you know, months later, still a 5% click through rate. And with impressions, why is it doing it that way? Oh, this one. You can kind of see like it like bumps and then it tapers off and then it bumps and then it tapers off and it bumps. And then now it's kind of into it's old now. So it's in the like long tail where I think it's just going to sort of hang there for a long time. But the same here, you know, it's like still gets a good click through rate. So whenever people see it, they want to watch it. And then the views have been the same thing. It was sort of like it went and then it bumped and then it went and then it bumped and then it kind of flattened out a little, then it bumped, and now it's kind of I mean, honestly, shocking how much this still grows, uh, given that it is, you know, 3 months old now. Um, but yeah, it's very like the YouTube algorithm is it is both what should be a very simple thing and also a complete mystery. I don't understand it. Um, yeah, I think this is this is one of the better episodes, but not by the margin the views would suggest. 100%. That's exactly it, right? And so that sort of makes me wonder if it's like, is it a game of inches? Like, I was just watching, uh, what was it? I was watching it was Veritasium, which is a YouTube channel that sort of talks about like science and math and stuff like that. And they were talking about the Millennium Bridge in London, which is a bridge that I can pull up a photo of it. Millennium Bridge looks like it's can you just see like photos of it? This one. If you've ever, whoa, that was weird. How do I just zoom in? So this is the Millennium Bridge, right? And this bridge made news because when it was first opened, when people started walking over it, it started to sway. And so it swayed enough that they got nervous and they closed the bridge, and it took like 3 years to fix it. And what was fascinating about this was it like was kind of a thing that people knew, because they do things like they have military, if they're marching across a bridge, they have to break step, because if you don't want like everybody in the military party like stepping in time, because that puts vibrations in a steady way into a bridge, which can cause it to swing a little bit. And they kind of knew that, but they account for that, right? You don't put a bridge at the resonant frequency of how people walk, because it can cause the bridge to bounce. What they didn't account for in this particular case was side to side. But here's what was weird about it. When they closed down the bridge, they started having people walk over it, and they were walking over it, you know, like 10 people, 100 people, and nothing was happening. It wasn't swinging, wasn't doing anything. And then it was like 150 people, still nothing was happening. And I think the exact number was like 166. Once they got 165, 166, somewhere right in that range, all of a sudden it started swaying like really badly. And so it was similar to something like ice, where it like nothing happens, and then when you clear this threshold, everything happens, right? And I kind of wonder if some videos are like that, where they can be good, but they're just shy of whatever threshold it is where they take off. And I'm wondering if it's and really, truly, like, who knows? And also, it was the season premiere, so it got some extra attention because it was the first one back, so lots of people were sharing it. It did really well on external sites like other like YouTube and LinkedIn and or not YouTube, like Blue Sky and LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok and like everywhere that I was sharing it, I was like, hey, season premiere, go check it out. So I think it got some extra boost that way with like external traffic coming in. And who knows, like it might have been stuff that I'm not thinking about at all, but little things I think just tipped it just enough that YouTube was like, show this to everybody. And then once everybody saw it, they liked it. So they kept sharing it with more people, or it kept showing it to more people. And that seems to be what's happening, is that like this video has proven to YouTube that it is one that people want to watch. So it will continue to share it with people. And it's now the most viewed video on my channel, and still growing. Like probably going to be the first one to cross 300,000, which is great. Super exciting. What do I need to do to make that happen every time? I have absolutely no idea. And I think that there's like a certain part of it is there's probably some formula stuff that could be tweaked to make it, I don't know, like, I think there's things you can do to try to encourage discussion or like engagement. I don't really want to be the like and subscribe person, but I do think that's actually kind of important. So we maybe we need to put something like that in. Maybe we need like, I don't know. I don't actually know. But it's like baking a perfect pizza is actually a good point. But yeah, so that's a whole thing. See, haven't typed with someone typing with their toes. That's true. No free feet. That's definitely how we're gonna do that. I mean, I also think that's true, that like to a certain extent, a lot of web dev challenges success is because it's a series. People know what it is. They're watching it because they're familiar with the format and they like the format, so they want to see another one. And that also could be like algorithmically weird, because I might be getting signal that isn't related to like the organicness of a video's appeal. Truthfully, I like, I don't know, maybe this is something that the operations person can help me with, is like figuring out how to appropriately test this. And avoiding, like, I don't ever want it to be Mr. Beastie, where we sort of go for maximum attention and like play into people's short attention spans and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Let's see. What would I advise a final year comp sci student who's passionate about software dev, working on web dev projects in Svelte a lot? SA San Antonio, South America, somewhere else. Java and C#.net and React is dominant. I mean, the thing that I've noticed and the thing that I keep seeing is that right now hiring is harder than it's ever been. Getting jobs is brutally challenging, and the unfortunate reality right now is that to get a job, you almost must get a warm intro. So what that means to me is the more embedded you can get in the community, the more people you can meet, the more you can be helpful, the more you can show that you're learning, sharing what you're working on. If you learn something new and you've got time, write up a blog post on what it is. And just, embrace the fact that you're learning. So don't be like arrogant, like you're the best teacher in the world, but also don't write off your skills. Like, I'm not a web dev yet, but I would say, be what you are. You are a dev, you're building, you're excited and you want to share. And there's still stuff to learn, right? There's always stuff to learn. So embracing that, being very visible in any way that you can, whether that's local meetups, if you've got access to conferences, do that. If you've got online forums where you can be helpful. I think the other thing, and this is maybe not what a lot of people want to hear, but like use your real name and photo, because people like people, they don't engage with like an anime avatar is going to put you at a disadvantage, right? Because it's anonymous. When they get your resume, they don't know who you are, because your online presence isn't who you just submitted your resume as, right? And it's like we have these things with familiarity bias where we like things that we've seen before, even if we have no prior experience with them. It's like this is what Coca-Cola and Budweiser beer and you know all these like Stella Artois, like they push advertising so hard so that when you don't really know what you want, you will choose the familiar option. If you are looking at a fridge full of beverages and you don't know a lot of them, you're not sure, but you just, you know what, I don't have a lot of energy to decide. I'm going to pick the thing I know is going to be what I expect it to be, and that's a Coke, right? And so it's this sort of the same thing with hiring. People are getting completely flooded with hundreds, thousands of interviews or of applications, and they have to filter them in whatever way they can. And unfortunately, humans aren't very good at like objective sets of like huge objective sets of data. So instead, we use heuristics, which are, do I know this person? Would I want to work with this person? What, who can I like shortlist based on prior experience? And honestly, if somebody they know says, "Hey, you should talk to this person because I've seen them around, they're good," it's going to get you a lot further than anything else. And that is, I don't know, maybe not the best thing in the world. Maybe that's not something that people are particularly happy about. Maybe it's not the most fair thing in the world, but it does seem to be the reality right now. So the best advice I can give to anybody is to try to be a good member of the community. Like make friends, be helpful, be humble, be curious, be engaged, and share. And if you do that consistently, people will start to notice, like, hey, here's this person. I keep seeing them around. They keep doing cool stuff. It's gonna turn into a job. And I don't say that in like the rah-rah kind of way. I say that in, I have watched multiple people in this hiring climate get their first jobs through doing exactly that. And so you just kind of have to keep pushing and keep believing and keep trying and try not to give into the despair that it's too hard and there's too many people and not enough jobs. And that is true, and it's very competitive, but you absolutely can punch through. You just got to be consistent. You got to believe that it's possible, and you got to do the work to get people to notice you. What did I expect from 2025? How's it going so far, and what do I want to achieve in the remaining months? That's a good question. So I wanted 2025. What did I want? I mean, I have some like, you know, silly numerical goals, right? Like I wanted to break $1 million in billing for Code TV. And it's looking like I will do that. And again, to be clear, I am not making $1 million. Almost all of that is going to pay out contractors and production fees and paying for the prizes, paying for the travel to go places, like all the different expenses that come with the business. I also, I've got rent on a studio and equipment and a whole bunch of stuff that like means that my salary is closer to a standard tech salary, not $1 million. But it is cool. It's what I wanted that for wasn't for the bragging rights of like I have a 7-figure business. Although that does, I mean, obviously, like bragging rights are great, but the more important thing to me was proving to myself that this is a viable market, right? That this thing that I was waving my arms about in all these different companies, and saying like this is where we need to focus, this is where the future is. When I left to pursue it, my biggest fear was that I was going to find out that I was wrong, and that it turns out, in fact, it's like a flashy bauble that doesn't have any substance behind it. But I think we've proven that it is in fact working. It is having the impact that we want it to have. We've got companies that keep coming back. And to me, that's a good sign that like we've found something that is valuable and that people want and that companies understand. And I just want to keep getting better at that. Personally, I wanted to. So this one is one of those ones that I want to tread carefully on because it is an extremely personal thing and not a broad value judgment. I personally have been heavier than I want to be for my entire life. I am just somebody, like I am a large person. Even if I was like 0% body fat, I'd still weigh like 185 pounds. Like I'm not a small person, right? We did this thing called a DEXA scan where they check how much how much muscle you have on your body, how much fat you have on your body, like bone density, stuff like that. And like as a data point, the scale for bone density is like 0 to 2.5, and 99th, or it's not zero, it's not the scale, but like 99th percentile for human skeletons is like 2.5 on whatever this density scale is. And I don't know exactly what it is, but my bone density was like a 5. So I am built for pulling a wagon. Like I am basically an ox. But so in 2023 and 2024, especially the latter half of 2024, I started seeing myself on camera a lot more. And I also had a conversation with a producer who's worked on a lot of like reality TV and they've worked on shows that you've heard of. And in that conversation, as a sort of throwaway comment, the producer said, and one of the things that sucks about Hollywood, that is going to come up and be true, is that when you're casting, you have to cast people that Hollywood thinks are attractive, or else the show isn't going to do what you want it to do. And I really don't like that as a thing. It's not something I consider when I'm casting, because I don't like Code TV doesn't need to care about that. That's not what we're here for. It's not what we're doing. Like we're not trying to set up Love Island with code, although like that would be funny. But I think the comment though got me thinking about, what are my long-term goals? And I mean, there's so many things that factor into this that are not related to this. It wasn't like one conversation. I've been trying to find a way to like feel good about my weight. I don't know, since I was 16, 15, it's just not a thing that I've ever like really had a good grasp on. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that. I mean, I think it's like, we've all got our mental health thing. And like my thing is I eat my feelings. That's just how I've always been. And so eating is like a source of comfort, right? And so if I get stressed out, I want to eat to feel better. If I'm sick, I want to eat to feel better. If I'm happy, I want to eat to celebrate. Like, it's just, that's how I've always been. And as a result, I just haven't been, I've never been in the kind of shape that I would be like, yeah, man, look at that. Good job. I've had bouts of getting close. In like 2015, I did this program with a former client of mine, Precision Nutrition, and lost like 60 pounds or something. It was awesome. Still never quite got where I wanted to be, but like I was pretty happy about it. Like I felt really good. But then, I moved to Austin, and in Austin, everything is deep fried and covered in cheese. And so I gained 60 pounds back. But so now that we've been living in Portland, the beginning of this year, I had this sort of perfect storm of things where like my dad got a bypass, like a heart bypass, because that's something that runs in our family. It's like a big risk for all the men in my family. And he needed to go it was a triple bypass. It was kind of like an urgent one. It was a big scare. Like I thought I was going to lose my dad. And so that led to kind of a slew of, doing the check-ins with the doctor and figuring out, like, do I have any of the early signs of heart problems, any of that stuff. And fortunately, I went through all these tests, and like I came back clean. I did I got into an MRI and it's called a calcium score, right? And then, like, that came back clean, and they did the treadmill test and all these things just to check, where am I at? And fortunately, I have a healthy heart. I don't have any of the signs of artery blockage or heart disease or any of that stuff. So good, happy about that. But then I was also there's this actor, Ethan Suplee, and so Ethan Suplee was in Boy Meets World. He was in He was in My Name Is Earl. He was in American History X, and he's always sort of played like the fat friend, like that. If you were to put out a script that was like needs a fat friend, that would absolutely be Ethan Suplee. And so he's always, yeah, I mean, he was like 500 pounds. He was a big dude, and he around the end of last year, I was on Instagram for some reason, and look at this. Like, look at this guy. That's so freaking impressive that he did this. So I was like, I feel like Ethan Suplee is one of those people that I usually, when I see somebody in Hollywood, I don't look at him and go, I think I might be built like that. Like, I'm not looking at like what's his name, Hugh Jackman, and going like, I think that's what I would look like if I'm not built like that. Like he's like kind of slender. He's when he muscles up, he's got like that V taper. Like, no, man, I'm built like a freaking brick. And so there was no part of me that ever really looked at like the Bradley Coopers or whatever and thought like, I bet I could get there, right? But Ethan Suplee, this is a dude who was way bigger than me, who's built similarly to me. And I was like, I bet I could. I bet I could get there. I think that's possible. So, heart scare, saw Ethan Suplee, got this sort of offhand comment from a producer about like just how much of an advantage it would be to be conventionally attractive. If I ever wanted to do something where I like jump to a network instead of doing it myself at Code TV, which is not like a hard and fast goal, but like it'd be pretty damn cool to get a chance to like make a show on Netflix, right? And if I can get into better shape and that ups my chances of that happening, why not? Right? Like, why not just make that my job? So that's kind of what I did. Was I treated it as a business expense. I hired a personal trainer. I'm in there 4 days a week. I am on like an eating plan that is that's like something different than I've ever done, and I have lost 20 pounds since January. And you can, I mean, like, I'm still not small. Like, you're not going to look at me and be like, damn, look at this dude. But if you look at like videos that came out around December or, the last half of last year, if you look at those videos and you look at the videos that are coming out today, you can see a difference. It's not a big difference, but like my belly is not gone, but it's significantly diminished, right? And things like, I have shoulders now. Like, look, I have there's a separation between this part of my shoulder and this part of my shoulder. Like I have exactly one vein when I do biceps curls. I have this one little vein here. It's almost big enough to name. But so it's like that little kind of stuff. But the other thing that's been really interesting to me is I feel like my whole life I've done a lot of talking about how you can do anything if you're just consistent, if you set up the right systems, and it was like I've been able to do that with every part of my life except fitness. I've always sort of hit these weird blockers or had issues or like something's been wrong. And I always fall off the habit, and I'll get 2 months in, 3 months in, I'll get some results, and then things get hard. I travel, whatever, I get off the habits, and then it all just kind of goes back to equilibrium. Um, this time around, my goal was to look at it the same way that I look at other things, because the advice that I always give, right? And I've probably said this 1,000 times on this show, and I'll repeat it again. The advice I always give is like, you can't look at the end state as being the goal, because end states are extremely ephemeral. Like, if you want to win a race and all you care about is winning the race, and the race can be anything. It could be a physical race. It could be hitting a 6-figure salary. It could be hitting I don't know, whatever milestone, right? And so let's say a six-figure salary, right? So you're making $65,000 a year, and you say, okay, my goal, all I care about is getting to $100,000 a year. I want a six-figure salary. So you sort of ignore everything. You back off of social obligations. You kind of drop out of some voluntary clubs, let your hobbies go, because the thing you care about is getting to this thing. And then you get there, you hit 100 grand. What really changes, right? Like if you go immediately from 65 to 100, that's going to feel pretty interesting for call it a quarter, right? Um, but that's usually not what happens. What usually happens is you get 65 and then you get a raise. Now you make 70, and then you switch jobs. Now you make 85, and then you get a raise, you make 90, and then maybe you get another raise. Now you make 96, and then you like negotiate your next raise. You're like, you got to get me to 100, right? Like I don't want 98.5, I want 100. And they finally give it to you, or you get your next job and you negotiate 100, and then you get it. And so you've added practically, before taxes, maybe $1,000 a month, maybe less, maybe $500 a month. So it's not like it makes any practical difference when you get there incrementally like that. But you've made all these sacrifices along the way, and you've changed the way that you exist in the world along the way in ways that are maybe not what you actually want, right? Like you've sort of lost touch with some of your friends. You've fallen out of some of your hobbies. I'm guilty of this with music. Like I was so focused on growing my agency that I just kind of stopped playing music. I was in a little like pickup band, and we stopped practicing, and whatever, it's fine. Like it's not a big deal. And now it's been so long that like I'll pick up a guitar sometimes. I can still play, but like I'm not good. I couldn't join a band right now. I'd have to like really, really brush up to get back into it. And so that's a sacrifice I made to get to where I wanted to be. And the difference is, what I've been telling people to do instead is like, don't look at the destination. Look at like, what's the thing you would be stoked to do every day, so that the destinations, the waypoints, are kind of like pleasant bonuses along the way. Like most recently, this hitting 100K on YouTube, that wasn't really the goal. Like I am so grateful. I'm so happy. It feels nice to hit that milestone. But the goal was to make the stuff that I'm making on Code TV. And if I made it and was it 50,000, if I made it and it was at 5,000, I'm still happy that I made the stuff, right? Like that was the goal, was to do the work. And being able to do that work is rewarding in and of itself. And seeing that external recognition of that work is coming through subscriber counts, or invitations to speak at conferences, or if somebody wants to write an article or whatever about what we're doing, that to me is a bonus, and it feels great, and I love it so much. But it's not the point, right? I would do it without those things. And that has never ever been true for me with fitness. I've always, even though I would sit and talk about these mental strategies of not being over focused on the outcomes, I would always treat fitness like this thing where I would say, okay, if I crack down for 90 days and don't eat anything that's not exactly right, I can lose weight, and then I'll look the way I want to look. And it was like I had this idea, I never thought about and then what, because like, why would I think like that, right? It was like my goal was to get to this destination, and then I guess my assumption was that once I got there, I would magically stay there forever because I'd be complete, right? And so you suffer for these 90 days or whatever. And then even if you get to your goal, you suffered that whole time. You don't necessarily want to suffer like that forever. So you sort of drift back toward what you were doing before, because you didn't do it long enough to change any habits. And so you kind of, it's the yo-yo dieting, right? I've been guilty of this so many times in my life, where I would sort of like treat fitness as just like, I'm going to suffer for 3 months, and then I'm going to look the way I want, and then I'll be done, I guess. And then you drift back up, and okay, I got to get back on track. I'm going to suffer for 3 months, and then I'll get back to where I want. And I never really looked at it the way that I would approach any other project, which is like, okay, well, what does fitness look like if I'm excited to do it for its own sake? Like, what does it look like to do fitness in a way that makes me feel happy about having done it, and not necessarily worried about the specific like end state, right? Like, or what does it look like to do fitness in a way that doesn't have an end state, is maybe a better way to look at that. And I kind of sat down and thought about it that way. I was like, okay, what would I do if I wanted to make fitness into a process that is something that I will choose to do for its own sake, not because I'm suffering through it to get to this end goal. Um, and where I landed personally was the most fun that I ever had in throughout my various fitness adventures is for a brief period in my 20s, I was hanging out with a bunch of people who were powerlifters and bodybuilders. And they they were all training for competitions. I never did any of that. I didn't compete, but it was kind of fun to train with them. Like I really liked the powerlifting style of training. I like a weight room. I like, you know, bench press and stuff. It was just fun for me, right? It's kind of what I'm built for. Like I'm big. And so moving around big weights feels like working with my nature as opposed to the other stuff I tried. Like I'd go do circuit training gyms, CrossFit style, and I hated it. They'd be like, go run. And I'm like, my knees hurt though when I run. I'm too big to run like that. And so, you know, I'm doing like a jog, kind of taking it easy on my knees. And then I'd come back in and I was like, I didn't feel like I feel like I'm working around this workout and I don't want to do it. I'm trying to find excuses to not go. The same thing, I tried yoga. I tried just like straight up running. That was a very short-lived experiment. I tried body weight stuff like, you know, kettlebells and like body weight squats and push-ups and, you know, those sorts of things. And that was fine, but I never really felt excited about it. We found this good circuit training gym that wasn't about like all the dynamic stuff. It was a little more balanced, right? But their weights didn't go up heavy enough. You know, the heaviest dumbbell that they had was 80 pounds. And like, I mean, I guess I'll brag a little bit. Like that's just not enough weight, right? Like I need so much more than that to get a real workout in. And so a friend of mine made a suggestion. They were like, well, I mean, you like the powerlifting. And I was like, yeah, like just find a powerlifting gym, but where? Right. And then a friend of mine who's in the fitness industry, knew of a guy who worked for this big powerlifting company, Kabuki Strength, and he split off and started his own gym. He's here in Portland. And so I hit him up and I was like, hey, what do I want to, what do I do? If I want to do 4 days a week, what am I going to do? And so now I'm on like a 4-day a week powerlifting program. And so it's like an upper lower push pull split. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. It's kind of boring. But now, like, you know, today I went in and I did overhead press. And I was like overhead pressing 185 pounds. And like, that felt really freaking good. And like, you know, I bench pressed. Yeah, I bench pressed 365 pounds the other day. Like I never in my life would have imagined that I could bench press that much weight. You know, like I think my deadlift is over 500 now. And like, those are all like, they're all vanity numbers. I'm not really concerned about the numbers, but like, it feels pretty good to put that other plate on. Like, you get to the like the fourth and fifth plates and you just start going like, oh my God, what am I doing here? This is amazing. But like, that's the kind of stuff that it makes me want to go back. It makes me want to play. And like today, we did like assisted pull-ups because I can't quite do unassisted pull-ups yet. But you know, again, I weigh 275 pounds. Like an unassisted pull-up when you're that weight is kind of crazy, but I can almost do it, right? I'm almost there. And so those are the sorts of things that I'm really enjoying and like really having fun with. And like the fact that I'm losing weight is great, but I'm not really like, I'm not worried about that. I'm having fun doing the work and I like the routine. I like going into the gym 4 days a week and I like the way I feel. And you know, it feels very different from any other time that I've done fitness. And I'm now maybe a little bit more, 7 months into this program. And like, I'm still not like trying to rationalize it away or like, oh, you know, I'm a little tired today. Maybe I shouldn't go in. Like I'm going, I'm having fun. I want to be there. I feel weird when I don't go. And this is a like notably like stark difference from any other attempt that I've made to be in shape. And so I guess the thing that I realized is like, it wasn't necessarily that like I didn't want to be in shape. It's that I was approaching it in two incorrect ways. I was approaching it as a destination that I had to suffer to reach instead of a choice that I wanted to make every day and the results would be sort of a bonus. And I was attempting to do it through means that they weren't the ones that felt like good for me. Um, and I do think that like working with your natural strengths is good. You like, I mean, obviously, if I was going to be an athlete, I would want to train the things I was weak on, but that's not really my goal. Like, I don't need endurance. I'm not going to be trying to outrun anybody anytime soon. You know, if I'm running, it's because something is horribly wrong. Right? Like I don't play sports. I'm at the age, I turned 40 this year, and so I'm at the age where I kind of worry that like I'm at risk of any injuries becoming like permanent character attributes as opposed to things that I'll heal from. So sports are not super appealing to me because, if I go play ultimate frisbee, I will have a whole lot of fun. If I blow my knee out playing ultimate frisbee, I don't know if I'll ever be back to 100% again. And so I'm not super interested in that sort of stuff. And so like, yeah, if I do the weight training, it helps me keep my bone density up. It helps me prevent the loss of like, a lot of old guys end up with no butt because it's like 40 or 50, you just start dropping muscle if you're not actively maintaining it. And that's why you see a lot of old men where they just have like the completely flat butt because they don't lift anymore. And it just disappears over time, right? You just sort of waste away, which is not necessarily like, I'm not saying that people need to do anything. I'm saying I don't want to do that, right? Like, again, this is all it's very much a personal experience and like my taste and preferences. But I like doing this. And so it's been very fascinating to sort of crack this personal code where for whatever reason, for the first 39 years of my life, I just couldn't find the right approach that fit me, And yeah, I mean, to be clear, I wasn't trying very hard. Like I would get frustrated and then I would just put it off for another year or 2 years. And then I'd come back and I'd try it for 3 months and I'd get frustrated and I'd put it off for another year. Um, it's been a cycle for me for forever. And so hitting that stride has been, I think, probably my favorite accomplishment so far this year it's because it also is like, when you have something that you consider to be a character flaw, if this makes sense. So I have always had this like sense of guilt around I'm good at all of these things in my life. Why can't I do this? Right? Like I've been able to have the discipline to build a business. I've had the discipline to learn coding. I've had the discipline to figure all of these things out and I just can't find the discipline to go to the gym and like keep myself from dying young. Like what am I doing? Why am I like this? And I would just beat myself up over it. It was this huge source of guilt and shame, because it wasn't like I didn't want to do it. It's not like I was like looking in the mirror being like, I like the way I look. I don't need to change. Because I think if you feel that way, 100% go for it. Like no shame. Look the way you want to look. I didn't look the way I wanted to look. I still don't look the way I want to look. And but I'm getting closer. Um, and finding a way to get my brain to unlock and get out of that thing. It's sort of like released this bit of shame that's like, why can't you, who talks this big game about how good you are at finding systems and solutions, why can't you do this? Why are you failing at this thing that's like arguably the most important thing you could do, which is keeping yourself healthy and alive? How is this the one thing you can't figure out? Like maybe pull your shit together. Um, that's been a big change for me. But yeah. So let's see. 10 pounds the camera adds. I mean, there is that. I also, I think, yeah, oh, yeah, that's right. He was in Mallrats too. He's Willem. It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat. um, let's see. Have some doubt with Figma because it's new to you. Well, thank you for kind words and I mean everything's hard when it's new and it gets less hard as you do more of it, I guess, if that makes sense. um Oh, yeah, Jack, you came in late. We were talking fitness. um, every couple of years, I'm like, running is good for you. I should try running. I I envy the people who enjoy running. I do think, like sometimes I'll look at Henri Helvetica, who is a distance runner, right? And he loves it. He's always having a good time. He's always posting photos of his run times and showing off his like cool running shoes and stuff. And sometimes I'll see those and I'm like, should I try it again? And I didn't know. I shouldn't. It is absolutely not for me. Oh my goodness. Um, yeah, how long did it take me to get to a 315 bench? So, okay. The time answer from like first bench to when I did it was 20 years. Because I think I was, well, not quite, probably 17 years. Because I think I was about 23 when I started training with those like bodybuilder types. So I remember when I started, I have a very specific story about this. It's kind of an interesting one. I remember I was probably around like 135. Like I could get a plate on. I felt good about that. I was adding a little bit. I was pushing to where I got like 185 and I felt good. And I was like, I want to get 225. I think I can do this. And I would like kind of push and push and push. And again, I had friends who would like, we did, I had somebody to like pull weight off my chest. So we would try to do like, just the negatives. So you kind of start at the top and like lower it as slow as you can. So you'd go above your max, but you would kind of get the experience of like lowering the weight. We would do like block presses, and we would do all the variations, the incline and decline doesn't really do anything, they found, so it's not worth it, but like incline is good. We would do chest flies and like all the auxiliary work, right? And then we were also focusing on things like form. I actually think form is the biggest blocker for most people on bench press. I'm not going to get into that right now because I'm not an expert and I'm going to sound like an asshole. But for me, at least, when I fixed my form, it added 50 pounds to my bench, just as a anecdote, right? But so the story I was going to tell, I had maxed out. I think the most I'd ever bench press was like 230 pounds, 235 maybe. And I got a job somehow as a photographer, which is not a thing that I've ever been professionally, but I got hired to do it. And it was for this fitness magazine. And it was sort of like it was another one of those who you know things. Like a good friend of mine was the journalist. And the way that we had done this was the series was basically called Let's Kill Nate. And what we wanted to do was take Nate, the journalist, and put him into all of these different training scenarios, because Nate was a very experienced weightlifter and he was a good athlete. Like he was a good, he had a high vertical jump. He was a fast runner. But he didn't play any sports. So the idea was take this guy who is a good athlete, but who is not like a sports athlete. He's like a weight training guy, and put him into these scenarios where he has to go head to head with different training styles. So the NFL Combine is the test they use for college kids when they're trying to do like drafting. It's part of how they choose the draft order picks and stuff like that. It's like a high jump and shuttle run, like side to side movement. It's your 40-yard dash, 50-yard, whatever that one is. I think it's 40-yard dash. And then they would test like how many times can you bench press 225 pounds, and other things. So there's more there, but those are the ones that I can remember. And so they sent Nate to go train for the Combine with these college kids who were about to go into the Combine at this famous gym. It's a guy named Joe DeFranco. I don't know if he's still doing it, but it was out in New Jersey, right? It's just kind of a warehouse gym, very grungy, very cool. And like I got to meet a bunch of NFL players. Like Gronk was one of Joe's clients. So like he was there. He was already in the NFL, but he was just there to train. And then like Brian Cushing, who I think had a short career because I think he got busted for steroids or something. But anyways, like a bunch of people that ended up going on to be really famous were there training. And so Nate goes in, I'm taking photos while he trains with these folks, and they're kind of seeing how he performs on all these different tests. And anyway, so we were there for 3 days. And on the third day, as I'm leaving on the second day, they're like, all right, camera guy, you gotta dress to train tomorrow because you're lifting with us. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, oh yeah, if you don't show up in training gear, we're gonna make you train in your jeans. And so I showed up in shorts, and it was the 225-pound bench press day, which again was basically my max at that point. I'd never bench pressed that much in my life, or I barely bench pressed that much in my life. So I was expecting I'm going to do the 225-pound bench, and I'm going to get exactly 1 rep, and that's going to be fine. I'm going to take it because at least I did one. I moved it. And so all these athletes are going around, they're getting like 25, 30, like tons of reps on this. And I'm just getting more and more nervous because there's no way I can do this. So they get around to my group, and my group is warming up. And so they start out, it's 185 on, you do a rep, you set it up, you get up and get back into the line. And then they load up 225, and you get on, you do 1 rep, and you get back into the line. And then they put on 275. And I was like, oh no, this is the warm up. And so I get there, and Joe DeFranco is the one, he's like unracking for everybody. And I get on the bench, and I look at him, I'm like, Joe, I've never bench pressed this much before. And he goes, well, you can't fuck up the warm up. And he drops it on my chest. And I've got so much adrenaline because I'm terrified that I'm going to embarrass myself in front of these like 19-year-old future superstars that I just like shoot 275 pounds off my chest. So a PR by like 50 pounds. It took me another 1.5 years to ever hit that weight again, by the way. But so anyway, so I probably ended around like 255, something 275 was my max. I never broke 300 when I was in my 20s. And so when I came back and started training in December, I got to 315 in like 3 months of focused training. And now I am at, I think I did 365 last week, and I am gunning for 415 because I did 365 for triples. So I'm pretty sure I'm spitting distance from a single on 400 pounds, that's our 405 is what I'm targeting. Because that's the 4 plates, and like 4 plates on a bar when you're bench pressing to me is like, the gym I'm training in, that's like warm up weights for some of these guys. They're like world-class powerlifters, but I don't want to be a world-class powerlifter. I just want to be able to say I can put 4 plates on the bar, because I feel like that's a number that 99% of people won't just, they're not gonna, like, nobody's gonna touch that number unless you're like a powerlifter, right? So to me, that's like the bragging right that I want, is a 400-pound bench press. What are we talking about? Comeback is on. I love it. Yeah, getting your bench involved, or getting your legs involved with bench, is like such a big thing. I think like my problems were I wasn't using my lats, which, like, you wouldn't think that your back has anything to do with it, and I wasn't pushing through my feet hard enough. It's like in a good bench, like there's all these things that feel like bad form, but are actually like part of the thing. So like on bench, you want to like kind of arch your back, like kind of be set back, right? And so to do that, you have to sort of like pull your butt and your shoulder blades together, and then you need to like lower your lats to actually engage those. And that kind of turns your lats into like a springboard, where like when your arms come down, they hit your lats, and it sort of like allows you to sort of spring back up. And if you don't engage your lats, then that's very hard to do. If you're not pushing through your legs, then you kind of like lose a lot of force there. So there's all these little things and cues that you pick up. And I've got a really good coach. So he breaks it down. He's like, oh, here's the thing I noticed. You kind of twist this way, or you're like letting it drop on this side, or your bar path is waving. So he'll just drill me on the things that I need to do. If I'm weak at the top, we do block press. If I'm weak at the bottom, it's all sorts of stuff like that, where we just sort of like figure out where I'm imbalanced, and then focus on like cleaning up those imbalances. And my weight has just been keep getting higher. At the same time as I'm losing weight, which is also like really cool, because I don't think that's common. I think usually if you're losing weight, you're going to be burning a little bit of muscle as part of losing that weight. And so the cool thing for me at least is that I seem to have found the pace where I'm able to sort of get two goals at once. I don't think that's going to last forever, but it feels pretty good right now. Um, a rebrand of Lyft with Jason. I probably never. Like I am having a lot of fun with this, but I would not go so far as to make any claims about um knowing things about it. Like I know what my trainer tells me and I'm good at repeating things, but that is definitely not my forte at all. Um but yeah, so anyways, what the hell are we talking about? We are talking about so much. I was gonna like do some code and then I got sidetracked by goals. Talked about them for an hour. I'll take it though. I'm not sad about it. Uh yeah. So is this do we have I don't know if we have time to like really dig into code. Like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Um so might not dive into the code today, but I have a lot of interesting things that we could work on. Um maybe what we can do is we can think a little bit about what should exist, right? Because we got a few opportunities with this site. But if I pull this up, um, a few opportunities for things that I would like to improve. I think right now we have so when you're logged in, it shows you your logged in button. I think this needs to be fixed. You're really you're gonna do me like this? You're not gonna brutal. Brutal. You and oh, it's not gonna stick. Doesn't matter. So right now you get your photo up here, and then when you click through, you go to your dashboard. So one thing that I could probably do to improve this a little bit is show that you do in fact have a dashboard, so that it could say, like kind of like welcome back or like view your dashboard. So something to indicate what this does, because it's more than just your account. It's also like your subscription, it's your perks, it's your profile management. Um, that could be a thing to clean up. I think the other thing that I was thinking about with this is when you log out. I don't like that. So that's a thing to figure out why it's doing that. We've got the become a supporter, but I'm already a supporter, right? So I wonder if we should set a cookie that says that you've already been there. Like, so basically, like once you've logged in, set a cookie, or we could even potentially check to see what do we get from Clerk. We've got Clerk stuff. Here's a lot of Cloudinary stuff, a lot of Clerk stuff. And we're logged out now, so these are things that kind of stick around. So one thing we could do is we could poke for any of these Clerk things and make the assumption that, is that bad practice? That feels. So here's my thought. The trade-offs here are if I build a cookie, which isn't hard to do, the trade-off is that then you have to manage that, right? And it could be fine in this case because there's no like important stuff. tied to it. Like if you don't have the cookie, it just says become a supporter, and if you have the cookie, it would say like log into your dashboard or something. I don't know. I feel like it's maybe low enough risk to just manage it yourself. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see how that would work. So what we need in order to make that happen is we got to head over to the dashboard. And so this would be kind of a dashboard supporter. So user profile. So this is already you know how I'm doing this is I'm doing it in the middleware. So we have our middleware, and the middleware is protecting these pages. So that's why I don't have an auth check in there. But so what I can do then is if you are logged in and you make it to that dashboard page, which is how it would work if you log in from anywhere. So hitting that dashboard page should be sufficient. Then I can set a like has user account cookie. That'll only work for your browser, and that's okay. We can make it HTTP only because we don't need to get at it from JavaScript. So it can be like a small, secure, not JavaScripty thing that we can then check. And if that token is present and set to true, which I guess if it's present, it is set to true. You wouldn't like unset it or anything. Then it would show login instead of become a supporter. Yeah. Feel good about that? Do I feel good about that? I think that's fine. So let's do is protected page. Yep. And then we would say here, I want to set a cookie and Astro cookies. On-demand rendering, cookie utilities. That's what I really want. And this would be as code TV account. I guess we would instead want that to be, if you don't have the cookie, then we want to set it. So we're going to Astro cookies set and has code TV account. Should just copy paste these things, and we're going to say true. Have to be string? It does. Okay, so then theoretically speaking, just by having done that, when I come out here and go to the dashboard, we should then see in our cookies has code TV account true. Okay, so we've set that. I have a code TV account. And then out here, what we should be able to do is in the header, we should be able to check. Sorry, I'm not doing that anymore. We should be able to say Actually, we're going to say, where's this label? There's our user button. This needs to be on the user, not on here. So instead, we're going to go for the user button. And here's our user button. It says become a supporter. Now, what I want to do instead is I want to say logged out text is, and it's going to be astro.has cookies.has. Then I guess it's not has. We would want get equals true. Then we want it to say log in. Otherwise, become a supporter. And then down here, we use it. What have I done? Okay. So then that should be setting that text. And so if I come back out here and I log out, we need to figure out why that takes, whoa. Oh, that was not good. Why did that happen? But it did the thing where it said become a, or it says log in now. And if we come in here and we delete this, and we refresh, it says become a supporter. Okay, so that did exactly what I wanted. Do you have to be a known dev or a mutual to be on the game show? You do not. I have casting calls, which I need to update actually, where you can submit. It's like a video and do I have this link up right now? Code TV link. Yeah, there it is. So this is the casting call link. If you are interested in being on Web Dev Challenge, it's going to ask you to like make a video and show me some code and stuff like that. But it's hopefully doesn't take too long to make. But we definitely do look through those. So yeah, if you're interested in being on the show, please do submit. And if you do submit and you don't hear back from us, that is because it is currently just me and I am absolutely buried and I'm very sorry. But we have recruited people out of that. So please don't, please do feel free to apply. And if you did apply and we haven't gotten back to you, that doesn't mean that we won't. Yeah, like I said, it's a little nuts over here and I need help. So, all right, where are we at? We got an interview for a software engineer role tomorrow. Good luck. Okay, so I feel pretty okay about this. So I need to figure out why my logout is only sort of logging out, because we are logged out. Like if I try to go back, it's going to bounce me to the sign in page, I think, or it's just going to. Weird. Is there? Oh boy. Okay, let's look at what the sign out is doing, because that's not right. Well, first and foremost, this is working. So let's commit that code. And it was the, I'm gonna add the components header. We're going to add the user button and the source pages dashboard. Good. And this is going to be use a cookie to update login text for returning users. Oh, yeah, we got to spell things right. Want to see a cool thing about Warp? I can just click. So then I can push. And it's pretty tiny, isn't it? I should make this bigger. Okay, so that's that. And then what else did we do over here? What have I changed? That didn't work. So we're not going to bother with that at all. And this, oh, that's right. Then we'll push that through. Those changes will start going live, and then we can look at why the heck this logout is taking too long. That would be happening in, I think I set up a logout API route. Does this return a promise? It does. Okay, that's probably what's going on. So maybe this will do what we want. It's going to await revoking the session, which should end everything. And when it takes us to the sign out, now this is a bit of a goofy thing that I'm doing here because I haven't found a good. There's probably a better way to do this, but I don't know what it is. So I go to a sign out and then I just literally do like a manual refresh to take you back home. So let's try that again. We're gonna log in. I saved everything, right? Yeah. Okay. Then I'm going to log out, which now should await revoking the session instead of immediately redirecting, which I think was creating a race condition. So I log out. No, it still doesn't work. How long does this take and what needs to be done? A lot of car noise going on back there. So I think, but this is a time thing. Watch, because if I refresh now, ooh. Okay, something weird is happening. All right, maybe let's just try getting rid of everything. So that's going to log us out of everything. This is kind of like a hard refresh. So we're going to become a supporter, right? Because we cleared all of our cookies. So we hit the button. We go to sign in. Now we're logged in. Now we're going to log out. It's still not working. And if I refresh, then it happens. Okay, so there is a timing thing going on. Or there's like a, well, but what could it be? It has to be a timing thing because it hits this page and refreshes, and then a second refresh clears it. So let's try the most kludgy way that we can, which is to just add time. So let's leave a noticeable timeout. This should take, if this doesn't redirect after 3 seconds, I set it to 3,000 seconds. Let's try that again. It should be, I think it's 3,000 seconds or 3,000 milliseconds if I'm remembering correctly. So we're going to log in. Okay, we're logged in. Now when I log out, what should happen is it should hit that page that says redirecting and sit there for 3 seconds before moving us to the home page, where if I'm right that it's a timing thing, it will show us that we're logged out. But I'm not going to leave it like that because this will look terrible. 2, 3, redirect. I set it to 3,000 seconds. Okay, so we're gonna do that different one. We're gonna reset this to 3. We're signed in. We're logging out. 2, 3, redirect, and we're okay. So it is in fact it's a timing thing. So how much time do we need? Like if I go in here, write my favorite function. We'll say milliseconds is going to be a number. And what we're going to do is we are going to return promise, new promise. And that's going to get a resolve, which will set timeout and then resolve itself after that set number of milliseconds. And this needs to have a default, so we'll default it to 1,000. That means this can be optional, can't be optional. Can be optional like this. No. That's fine. We're just going to throw an error if you don't set it. How about that? Which TypeScript will do, so I'm going to leave it there. And what we're going to do then is we're going to await sleep. Is like half a second long enough? Let's find out. And actually, is the wait in the API route enough, or does it need to be a wait after we hit the website? That would be weird. Shit, I forgot to turn off the redirect time. Okay, let's try that one more time. Set this back to 0. And this is going to clear the session, wait a half second, hit this redirect, which maybe we can get away from the redirect entirely if this timeout works. That wasn't enough time. Let's make it longer and let's see. So let's just go back to what worked on the other one, which was 3 seconds. So if we wait 3 seconds, that should theoretically do the same thing as the other redirect did by waiting 3 seconds. So let's find out. If it didn't, then that means that it's not necessarily the time. It is the time, but it's time in a different way. 3, go. What the hell could this be? Because it's so it's not the sleep here, because we waited three full seconds and that did not change the outcome. So we can get rid of this. We don't need that. That's not going to solve our problem. What is going to solve our problem, hopefully, is 1 second of this. And we're going to log in. We're going to log out, and it's going to show us redirect for 1 second. And logged out. So what would cause this? It's hitting some kind of interesting thing where it like isn't clearing the cookies or something on that first redirect. It's like the redirect is happening before they're done or something. Why would that happen? I don't understand why that would happen. Sure. Like, is it ideal? No. Does it work? Yes. Do I care enough to fix it? Maybe. I don't get it. I don't get it. If anybody knows, I'll probably send this over to the clerk team too, and they'll probably just say like, "Oh, it's because you did X." Feel like I just heard somebody knock on my door. Give me one. Let's take a quick timeout. I'll be back in 30 seconds. No idea. Whatever it was, must have been outside. Um, yeah, my instinct here would be that the cookies are like caught for a second, which is sort of a weird thing. I don't know, man. It's fine. Like this is good enough. It at least does what I want, and it also has a login button instead of a become a supporter button, which I like. I think that's good. See. What else do we need in here? I feel like where the blog's at right now. I'm pretty happy with it. Newsletter's doing what we want. I love this. This makes me happy. And it's like steadily expanding, which also makes me really happy. It feels real good seeing more and more faces on there. So thank you to everybody who is supporting and you know, making this all a little bit closer to an independent dream. Right now we're almost fully funded by corporate sponsors, and the more people who end up on this list, the more we're able to do stuff that is not funded by corporate sponsors. We are, of course, dealing with the never-ending struggle of everything is expensive, and so that's sort of that's one of the challenges we're dealing with. I love how blown out this window is. The sun is hitting this window just right to cause me heartburn. Is the image size based on support level? It is indeed. So that's it's if you're gold tier, it shows as a 2x2, and if you're silver tier, it's a 1x1. Nobody's on the platinum. I don't even think I'm offering the platinum tier right now because I haven't figured out what it actually would be. But I don't know what size that would be. My guess is that'll probably end up being like a company tier, because I was looking at $100 a month, which I don't think is a reasonable amount for an individual to I mean, I guess like some of y'all with the FANG salaries could toss Code TV $100 a month, and that would be dope. I don't currently think I have a good enough perk to offer as like incentive to pay $100 a month to Code TV. But yeah, so right now it's all set up where yeah, gold tier shows up a little bit bigger, but then we're using the I think it's dense keyword in grid here so that we get the tight pack even though things are different sizes, which is so freaking cool that I was able to do this with just grid, like no third party libraries or anything. So it's grid and then it's row dense. And then we just lock everything in at 40 pixels. But then if it is gold, you can see that we go 2-span. So that's the magic there. You get the 2-span on these, and then you get the 1-span on the others, and that is freaking sweet. And then I also did like a little bit of like a glow effect when you go over them. I don't even know if this is coming through, but like you can kind of see that everything is like 90% opaque. So when you hover over, it goes to 100, and that gives it just a little bit of like a focus sort of thing. I also did something that made me happy. Let's get into one of these. A sort of like negative focus thing. So as you hover over one of the shows, the other ones get less. They become like less focused, and so that is also really happy. That makes me really happy because it allows you to sort of show what you're hovered over in a way that doesn't require like a ton of visual addition to the element itself. And then of course it's also keyboard accessible now, which makes me happy. So as we get through all of these, and look, this is another cool thing that I was happy about. I found a valid reason to use tab index. And I think Donnie is still on here and is probably going to tell me if I'm wrong, but so here's what I did. I set it up where you've got the card, right? And then in the card, we have a link to the image. We have a link around the headline, and then we have a link at the bottom. So you can kind of see this is a link, this is a link, this is a link. So the way that I did this, because what was bugging me about it is I felt like if you tabbed, you'd have to tab 3 times to get through one of these. So if I go here to just kind of tab out real quick, you go here and you would be like, okay, I'm focused on the image, tab, I'm focused on the title, tab, I'm focused on the link. And what I wanted to happen instead is you tab once and you go between the different cards, right? Because that's what I would expect as I'm navigating is like each one of these is a link. I want to be able to go to the thing that I've linked to. So the way that I did that in the markup is we set a tab index -1 on the image link and a tab index -1 on the more link, the watch now link, because this also isn't like a particularly interesting piece of text. So instead, where we put it is on the title. So it's when you tab through, it's a link to build a custom API and an app to consume it, right? So that's sort of the goal, and they're all the same link, so it doesn't remove any capabilities, and the image is still alt tagged, or yeah. So the image has an alt attribute, so it should still be accessible, but the link itself is not. Actually, this is a question if anybody knows. This, if I tab index the link around the image to -1, does that mean that you can't get the alt on the contained image? Ooh, I didn't know that. I don't know the answer to that question. I'll have to check with somebody and see what the rules are there. But I believe, and then this is like a duplicate link without particularly descriptive text, so I don't think you lose anything by not being able to like focus on this link. So that makes me just feels like a nice little UI thing to do. Any other fun stuff going on in here? I don't know. I feel like I should probably wrap this up because I think now I'm just looking for ways to kill time, which seems like a bad way of operating a stream. Um, oh, we're on localhost. I was like, God, why is this so slow? We also I did some cleanup on these that I really like. These were circular before, and I was like, yeah, I think circular is the right way to go. And now that I've seen these in more of like a just barely rounded rectangular grid, I think it just looks nicer. Like same with these. Like it just looks nicer. Um, he's working. Yeah. So, anyways, I feel I'm like I want to clean some stuff up. Like I feel like these are kind of ugly, and I need to address them in a way that makes me feel better about what's going on in here. Um, but I'm overall, by and large, very very pleased with the design of this, and I'm very excited to sort of be into the incremental improvements phase as opposed to the I got to rebuild this whole dang thing phase. Also, I would just like to say that I was doing the blurry glass thing before Apple made it cool, so don't come for me. I stole it from Linear, not from Apple. Thank you very much. Uh, you got a, you know what? Yeah, we got time. You got a coding question? Go ahead. What do you got? Okay. Let me think if there's anything coming up. What do we got this week? We've got we got a fun live stream coming up this week. Let me get onto the live site so that it's a little faster. We're going to go over to here and on Learn with Jason. We've got, oh crap. Aiden, we got to get this updated. I don't know if you're still watching. Wait, no. Oh, we did update it. I'm just looking at the wrong one. This one is going to be super fun. I met Mike. Mike's actually local to Portland, which he just hit me up. He's like, yeah, we should meet. And that was great. But we are going to be talking about generative UI design. So related to what the Web Dev Challenge is about this week. Like Mike's been working on this thing called Hash Brown, and the idea is that you can kind of feed it a collection of components, and it's similar to MCP, how you like define these are tools and what you would use them for. It's the same thing, but for UI, where it's like, okay, when you respond, here are components and here's what you would use them for, so that theoretically speaking, you would be able to like feed your like chatbot or something this collection of components, and instead of getting a bulleted list or whatever, it could build out an actual UI. So you could say, hey, I want to buy a guitar. Actually, Jack Harrington, I don't know if he's around, but Jack Harrington showed me a demo of something like this a long time ago that was very much like, Jack sort of built this, right? What Mike is doing is he's making it so that you don't have to roll it on from scratch. You can sort of take this as the harness that you feed components into. And if you come on and you say, like, I'm interested in learning to play guitar, I want to buy a guitar, it could say, like, here are some questions to do it. But instead of it being like a question, it could honestly just be like a checkbox or a yes, no, like, are you interested in electric? And you would click yes. And then it could build out like product cards and say, like, these are the available ones. Do you want details about any of these? And if you click one, it could like then generate like a single product card. And if you decide you want to buy it, it could generate a credit card input form. Like, just really interesting stuff like that, where you could actually sort of make the flows good. It is in fact the website that you designed, but it operates in a way that's sort of choose your own adventure from the user. So it feels better than any of the things I've seen so far, where it feels very like, can I smash every interaction into a text interface, which I don't like. This feels like maybe a path out of that gives us a little more control. So yeah, that's sort of the goal, right? But all right, so you're building a website that tracks all the errors a beginner make and general solutions based on their past mistakes. Um, you're wondering if there's a language or tool you can use. I mean, yes, there's tons. You know, I think you could do. I mean, I think this is sort of like one of the direct use cases that something like Claude is attempting to be there for. Um, in terms of how you would do it, there's a million ways you could do it, and I don't know what the best solution is. I'm certainly not an AI expert. I'm an AI skeptic who's reluctantly becoming a bit of an AI user. Mainly because I'm mostly just trying to temper the part of me that doesn't like new things, by trying to figure out how they work and making sure that any of my opinions are informed by experience and not by me just being afraid of something that I am uncomfortable with. Um, with that being said, yeah, I think that there are lots of tools you could use. I think that based on what you've described, it sounds like you are looking for some kind of an AI tool. My hunch is that you would probably want to build out some kind of MCP server that would look for common errors, and that could be like it could run a linter and catch bad patterns. It could do a code analysis, um, and sort of give feedback. I've seen that tends to be pretty good. Like if you go into, let's see, I'm still on the I refuse to pay for this, so I don't want to like, I might be out of tokens or something, but you can take a piece of code, like for example, let me find something a little more complex. Let's go into this one and let's say, no, that's not what I want. How do I open that's not it. One of these opens the sidebar. No? Let's open secondary sidebar. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Please analyze sheets.ts and identify any errors or possible problems with the code. Right. And so you can kind of have it go through these files and give you feedback. This is good. Oh, you're looking at the wrong thing. So I want you to look at this thing. Okay, let's try that again. No, no, no. Stop whatever you're doing. Give me this code. This. Oh, Christ. Okay. Can I? Fine, I'll type it again. Please analyze sheets.ts and identify any errors or possible problems with the code. And now I don't have any cursor rules in place. So like I'm not like giving it any context on what good or bad code is. So there's things like, and some of this stuff, like I don't know that this is true. Some of this stuff might just be straight up made up because this is clearly working. Private key format, ensure it's properly formatted. Like, yeah, so like this is sort of a just in case check. Function expects if you pass a string instead of a Boolean, the sheet will get the wrong value. I am coerced, whatever. But form data will be a string. Yeah, you're not getting form data, bro. You're getting validated stuff. So it's kind of making some weird assumptions too, where it for some reason thinks that it's getting form data, but it's not getting form data. It's getting a Boolean, which is shown right here by the like TypeScript. So again, this is the sort of thing that like this is probably where I would go with it. But it's clearly making some stuff up, which I think for beginners is a giant risk, because that's not how this is. Like that's some of this stuff is very yeah. See, like little stuff like this, like an ISO string doesn't work. I tried an ISO string, and Google Sheets chokes on it. So like that is bad advice. So this is why I'm a skeptic, because if you know what you're doing, some of this could be useful. If you don't know what you're doing and you just assume that the thing is always correct, then you're going to do stuff that's going to get you into trouble. Like this would break my code if I did that. And then I would be like, but I did what it said. And I have no way of sort of backtracking. Let's see, expects the response to contain spreadsheet ID. Spreadsheet ID only if the request is successful. Yeah, see, it's just little stuff that like, okay, so some of this is good though. Like the sheet is hard-coded. Yes, 100%. That's my bad. I think I even have a note up here that's, oh, I took it out. I had a note that was like, don't do this. And yeah, like the error object is returned, which could theoretically, if it like said things about the account, could like leak some data. There's no retry logic because this is an ingest, but it has no way of knowing that. So that's a reasonable thing to say. Input validation is done before this function is called. So again, it has no way of, or I didn't provide it enough context to know that. So I could potentially add in like sheets.ts and ingest.ts and all those sorts of things. But this is the sort of thing that I think, at least I'm understanding that's what you're after. And so I think that is the LLM would be the way to do that. You would just need to be really clear on how to catch that and give good feedback so that if and when somebody is using it, especially if they don't know enough to be able to like suss out when the LLM is just plain wrong, how do you collect that? I did click the original box and it didn't let me edit. Wait, is that real? Hold on, let me bring this back up. Also, I should figure out what that shortcut is to bring this back out. Command Shift or Command Alt B. There it is. Okay, so you just click. Fine. But actually, let's see if it gets better if I drag in like ingest and at client. What are my other ones? I already have that one. Got the sheets. That should be all of them. Does it get better advice if it has the ingest stuff in it? So the decryption problems. Yeah, no error handling, that's fair. If it's, well, that would track. Let's see, job creation. If the environment variable is missing, that's yes, of course. Google OAuth token request. If the response is not, yeah, that's fair. That's a real issue. The form calling the code passes these as strings. So I guess they're just saying like they want me to add extra stuff, which I don't really want to do. I guess it would be fine, but it's not really necessary because we ran it through the Zod check outside. Entry construction. If any required field is undefined, the row will have missing data. That's also fine. Google Sheets API call. if the access token is invalid or yeah, okay, that's fine. And we don't have logger return the full error response. Good. Spreadsheet ID handling. Not always, doesn't always include the spreadsheet ID. Huh. Interesting. Am I even using it? Spreadsheet ID. I guess I could just not do that and instead use the spreadsheet ID that I've hard coded. Okay, fine. Fine. This is a good one. Let's fix it. No changes made. How do I get you to do the thing that you said? One file changed, but it didn't make any actual changes. I mean, I would argue that this is probably a skill issue on my part, but like, sheesh, it just doesn't want to do the things that I'm doing. Yeah, I really don't like the anthropomorphization of tools. I don't like that. Fix an issue at work today that was causing the page to lock up due to a deep clone that oh geez. Any option for agent to give response with which line number on the editor referred. I mean, you can tell it to do that. Ask it to apply that spreadsheet handling. Yeah, that's what it's not there. Reapply. Like there's nothing for it to change because it's not actually changing anything. It's just showing me that code. So it's like, this is just, it's like, hey, this code sucks. And it's not saying like how to fix it, which is all fine. Like we can, don't even need this. Don't even need this. And I can just spreadsheet ID. And that fixes that problem. Like, I know how to code. I don't need the robot to do it for me, but I am always curious, like how are these tools sort of growing and evolving and what can we expect out of them? And like, what do we expect them to solve? I have to prompt it again. Yeah. I mean, it's the sort of like skill issue thing. You gotta say like, and also suggest fixes, so that it does that. And the whole rigmarole of learning how to clearly state what you want the thing to do to the thing. Anyways, that was a fun little sidetrack down into how cursor works and how I don't know how to use it. With that being said, we are at time, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But yeah, definitely come back on Thursday. It's gonna be a fun one. We're gonna see what we can figure out and learn a lot here. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, share this video with a friend, pull a clip. Clip is always fun if there was something I said that you thought was particularly interesting or useful. And just, continue being a friend. So we'll see y'all around. Thank you very much for hanging out. We will talk to you soon.